still be here when you're gone. You gather souvenirs, but I will never be your pawn, your pawn, your pawn. My love wasn't ever a game. I lay my cards out on the table. There's nothing to gamble away, but I can promise that you'll never be the same. But I can promise that you'll never be the same. You can double down. I'll still be a proud haven for your love is never love. A river through your bluff, I will be enough, enough, enough. My love wasn't ever a game. I lay my cards out on the table. There's nothing to gamble away, but I can promise that you'll never be the same. Something you can never take, but it's not uncommon to forsake. Got a chronic urge to complicate. Think of love like a friend, not an enemy. Feeling I have nothing left to hide. I'll say what you know it when it's right. Keep it simple now, living it before I die. Think of love like a friend, not an enemy. My love wasn't
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the final round of the GSRC Production Car Cup Season B of 2024. I'm Liam Banks, alongside me is Daniel Starr to bring you all of the action to the conclusion of 10 weeks of epic racing across 5 different cars, each being shown twice throughout the season. Tonight, we are driving the GR86s across the most famous track in South America, Interlargos, one of the best tracks in the world thanks to its incredible undulation changes and its back and forth nature, promoting close and ongoing wheel-to-wheel battles. As you can see, incredibly foggy conditions for qualifying, which could make it very interesting for the drivers involved. Looks like we've got about 16 or 17 people in the server at the moment, of which only 11 have set representative times, and this is the conditions for tonight. As you can see, it's track temperature of I forget this the right way around. Track temperature of 19 degrees, air temperature of 20, 100% humidity, hence the fog, and a relatively gentle breeze of 15 kilometers an hour. So nothing too tricky in the conditions except for that fog. I don't believe it will be raining because as the GSRC as a club is not implementing rain right now just due to a couple of glitches that have caused some people's computers to crash when rain is enabled specific to a certain series of GPU. Hoping those will be resolved before we start the next season in a couple of weeks time, but we do have a championship to finish. And Daniel, have you got the standings for us so we can acquaint ourselves with who is in the championship hunt? As you can see, the championship hunt is still on. Stuart Ellis and Sam Chapman, the two involved. Adam Lavis, he's a bit further back. I think 33 points is too much to make up, but he's going to be looking over his shoulder rather than looking forward because he's got Brett Barker right up his backside, only 14 points behind. So we have a battle for first and second between Ellis Chapman, battle for third between Adam Lavis and Brett Barker and Mikey Hammond a bit too far away, and then down the further into the top 10, everybody is pretty close together, so there are plenty of positions to be won or lost in this final round. Interesting to see that it is Ellis and Chapman that are in the box seat for the championship. It wouldn't have been surprising if you'd said that at the start of the season. We know they're both very accomplished racers and they've both proven themselves in the GSRC in these types of vehicles, but Sam Chapman's season in particular got off to an absolute shocker, so he's done well to claw himself back into championship contention with some relentless consistency across the last 4 or 5 rounds. And I'm sure the help of a couple of those drop rounds. On screen at the moment is Chris Whittick. You see it is wet, actually. It is a wet track. You can tell by the smoke coming off the, well, smoke? Steam? Spray. Spray is the correct word. Coming off those rear tyres. It doesn't look too wet. There is a bit of a dry line forming now, so it's just damp rather than absolutely drenched. And he is the fastest man on track at the moment at 2 minutes 1.4, his best time. Stuart Ellis, his closest rival, and crucially ahead of his nearest championship challenger, Sam Chapman. But of course, qualifying is only mildly important.
I thought he might keep that. He did not.
Got to do a lovely pirouette though. Gets pointing in the right direction, but stall it. But because we have 3 sprint races, we have sprint races coming for you tonight, which means 2 races. 15-minute initial race with the grid set by qualifying, followed by the 25-minute reverse grid top 10 feature race, and I think that's going to be the one that decides the title. Confirmation here is your grid. Chris Whittaker on pole position with Stuart Ellis, the leader in the championship, alongside him. His nearest rival, Sam Chapman, is in 3rd with Reece Gosner in 4th. Brendan Whittaker is in 5th with Guy Leach in 6th. Adam Lavis starts in 7th alongside his rival in the championship, Brett Barker, in 8th. Then there's Anthony Edshead and John Baldwin at the back of the top 10. Row 6 is David Bowers and Adam Proctor with Phil King and Chris Stark behind them. Then it's David Christensen, Aidan Schultz and Jason Tierman at the back of the field. Quite a big, you would have noticed just there, quite a big spread in qualifying times. That will be because of the conditions. And with only 10 minutes qualifying, if you go for a spin, it can be hard to even just get around in time to have another go at it, and it is very easy. You ruin your 2 flying laps and that's it. That is your qualifying done. So I wouldn't read too much into those qualifying times in terms of who's got the absolute pace, but I would read into it to determine who is confident. So look at the front, don't look at the back. Whittaker, Ellis, Chapman showing confidence in these conditions, although Chapman needs to hurry on and get onto the grid. Those at the back, they may very well have more pace than they've shown, and we might see them come through the field. It's a relatively small field for the Production Car Cup this week. Evidently some deciding they're not in championship contention, they're not in contention for top 3. Why bother showing up for the last round, particularly if you have got another drop round in your bunker. So yeah, relatively reduced grid. Usually we get around 20 to 25, and this week only 17. But that just means we can focus more of our direction on those in the championship hunt. As we look from the onboard of Reece Gosner, they're all beginning their rights read to them by Race Control, and thank you to the sponsors. And now they turn their engines on. We wait for the lights to go red. They do indeed. 3, 4, 5 lights. And it's a very gentle and slow getaway, but very slow getaway from Chapman now, which is absolutely crucial. He's dropped 3, 4, 5 positions already. Maybe not 5, that's a bit of an exaggeration, but certainly 3 before they've even reached the first corner. So he's given himself a lot to do for the first 15-minute race as Chris Whitaker leads Stuart Ellis away. Again, crucial that Whitaker stays ahead of Ellis for Chapman's championship hopes. As we watch Adam Lavis, he's cleared Brett Barker, put a car between the two of them, so he'll be thankful for that. But he has got Guy Leach right behind him. Look at those conditions. It is treacherous out there, and these GR86s, they are a bit tail happy, particularly for a relatively low powered production car. They are very tail happy, and it will be very easy to spin them in these conditions because they can be spun in the dry very easily on corner entry if you try to turn brake a bit too hard. Adam Lavis going around the outside there, perhaps showing a bit of skill in the wet, because that's going to be the karting line, and generally you're going to have less grip on the racing line in the wet because the asphalt is smoother, which means there's less miniature valleys for the water to go into, so the water sits more on top of the tarmac, hence why you want to go offline in the wet. So don't be surprised if you see a lot of moves around the outside at some crucial corners, particularly Chapman. Oh, that's not what you want to be doing, mate. You're in championship hunt. He stays in the top 10 barely just, but he's lost 7 positions. Absolutely shocking start. And he's the only one that's had a big movement. A lot of people are up 1 because they've overtaken him, a couple up 2. Nobody else has had a big loss. It's just Sam. Is the pressure getting to him? If it is, he needs to take a deep breath, calm down, get back to business. Oh, I can see the back end there, wanting to step out. He's having to apply opposite lock.
Yeah, the track is significantly wet. You can tell by just how much water there is pulled up on the apexes of some of these corners, and also you can see that very definitive wet line, which will obviously get drier as time goes on. But if the actual rainfall keeps up, then maybe we'll have a pretty intense race, at least for the next 13 minutes or so. There was only one major crash on that first lap. That was Anthony Adshead, who looks like he came together with Aiden Schultz at the back there. Otherwise, everyone else is sort of in line. Everyone's taking it nice and steady. And it is interesting to see how everyone starts to get into a groove when it comes to the wet weather, because that's
Guy Leach goes off track.
Guy Leach, yeah. So Guy Leach obviously getting caught out by the center S there, which is, of course, because if you think about it, the way that the water would form, there'd be a river that comes across the track because of the way it banks down and to the left. So this is the thing with the way that iRacing has done rain in their sim. It's not just like normal but slippier. There are patches, there are certain techniques that you have to employ in order to keep this car on the track, and you're going to see really good examples of driving from everybody across the grid for this race. But so far, Chris Whitaker's done an excellent job out in front. He's made himself a 1.45 second gap to Stuart Ellis, and so if it stays this way, yeah, there probably won't be a threat from behind.
And this is something that both Whitakers have shown a propensity to do across the time of the GSRC, particularly in lower powered cars and in front wheel drive cars in particular. They can show absolutely mega pace and just gap the field. When they are on it, they are absolutely on it. They're capable of putting in what I would call Denchi style performances, where they just drive away from the field. But often we also see them getting into little niggles and little crashes, and perhaps not quite fulfilling their potential across the season. Custom TCR, they were able to do it across the season, but it's always fun when we see them in the server, because you know you're going to get two things: cracking pace and also great battling, because they will go wheel to wheel with just about everyone. Now they'll go wheel to wheel hard, and for the large part fair. As Aiden Schultz loses a couple more positions, he seems to be in a battle with Phil King, but on screen right now is John Baldwin, because he is under pressure from Chapman, and I imagine we're going to follow Chapman's progression back through the field as the focal point for our 15-minute race, because this is a big story. Can Chapman get himself, well, he's already back in the top 10, which is crucial for that reverse grid feature race, but you've got to believe Stuart Ellis, starting from 9th at the moment because he's in second, would come back through and get back into the top 5. So Chapman needs to halt as much damage as he can, and probably needs to try and get ahead of Ellis in this race. Tall order, but he is the one that has points to make up. Stuart Ellis is the one with the lead going into this final round. And watch Adam Lavis suffering a little bit there, coming under attack from David Baz, and David Baz getting clear of him. Adam Lavis hooks back in behind him as they go down.
Oh, Sam Chapman is so aggressive right now. Looks like he's going to box Adam Lavis in, which is a smart move, but he's got to make sure he gets the braking done. Otherwise, he'll go skating across the track, but no, he's caught up there. So that early send-off that he had, looks like he's learnt from that mistake, and he's getting the moves done early, man. Sam Chapman's made his way up to 7th now.
Yeah, it was aggressive but controlled, and that's what you want to see from someone trying to get through the field. Too often we see people coming through the field and there's aggression, but there isn't the control that goes with it. They're a bit leery. They're taking on moves that aren't quite there, relying on others to sort of give them space, and you just know it's only time until they'll either crash or they'll get up to the point where they don't catch anyone else and they'll be safe. But with Chapman just there, it looked very much aggressive but in control, which just gives you that extra bit of comfort that they're not going to go throwing it away. Because there's kind of it's a mental trick, right? You think, oh, I've lost so many positions, I'll just go for it. It's gold or bust, but you're still in the top 10. Oh. That's really important. As David Baz does his best to try and throw away a top 10 finish, but keeps it under control, gets all over the curve, gets the back end out, but saves it, and is actually on for a really good attack at Brett Barker. And let's remember, he's only just got past Evan Lavis, so David Baz is absolutely storming through the field with incredible speed right now.
Stuart Ellis also in P2. He's managed to bring that gap down to under a second. He's 3/10 right now. We'll stay on board with David Baz as he just gives that rear bumper. Oh, okay, you can almost see the serial number on the left quarter panel as we make our way down towards turn 1. And again, Brendan Whitaker's got to be careful. I've seen him get a little sideways in a couple of the corners. That is an excellent line there from David Baz. Pulled the car up nicely. Doesn't look like he's unsettled the car at all. No, gets the move done well. So he moves up into P5. But let's not forget, Stuart Ellis is now right on the back of Chris Whitaker. And so that comfy lead that Chris had is now gone. And Reese Gosler is also taking out some time. He isn't underneath the 1 second mark just yet. But we still have more than half of the race to go, so he can surely catch up if these two start fighting more aggressively, because you lose a ton of time in the dry and you lose even more in the wet. So we will stay on board with these guys and see how it develops. Having said that, it does look like David Baz and Sam Chapman are in for attacks of their own.
Yeah, David Baz cruised up to the back of Brendan Whitaker and looking to turn 5th place into 4th before too long. I'll be interested to see how Stuart Ellis plays this, because he has caught back up to Chris Whitaker, fastest man on track at the moment, and if he can get ahead of Chris Whitaker, he'll get out of the spray and have a clear line of sight, which is a nice little bonus for being in the lead. Makes everything just that bit more comfortable, but he also knows he's in a really good position. He saw Sam have a bad start. He knows he's in the lead championship. A 2nd place here would go a long way to sealing that championship. Does he need to risk it to go for 1st? But yeah, but let's have a wait and see. But he's right on the back of Brendan here. Chris even.
Yeah, so this is where you're going to see some of these techniques I was talking about earlier. So you can hear the rainfall. It is very, very heavy. There's no break in the clouds, so this will last for the entire race. Stuart Ellis is going to look left, he's going to go right. So now what happens is he's going to have to hold that outside line, and Chris is going to have to hold the inside line. So Chris will be looking to try and extend that braking position and hopefully hold on to the inside for the first turn, which he will do because Stuart Ellis can't risk too much. That's going to allow Reese Gosling to probably close up the gap as well. So that's a really good procession from all 3 of those guys there. Chris holds on to the lead and Stuart Ellis will just keep it nice and tight. If it was dry, you probably would have seen a much more aggressive Stuart Ellis around the outside, but you cannot risk that. The curbs are deadly. You don't want to get on them unless you have to. Because the minute you put on power, because of the way that the curbs are serrated and the way that the water pulls up, it's just so easy for these to kick out. So again, very good job there from these guys. I would imagine the battle will get progressively more aggressive as the timer counts down, but for now there is just simply no reason to go too aggressive because it's way too easy to lose it all.
Yeah, in that battle, we talked about Baz attacking Brendan Whitaker. He's got past Whitaker, and Whitaker's fell behind Brett Barker, and now Sam Chapman. And look how close these 4 cars are. All 4 cars separated by less than a second, and there is contact there. Oh, that's contact again. That's Brendan Whitaker and Sam Chapman with contact, and ahead of them, it's Barker and Baz with contact. Nobody wanted to give it an inch. Hell, nobody wanted to give it a millimetre, let alone an inch. Sam Chapman goes around the outside to give him the inside for the hairpin, but he's got David Baz. Brett Barker, apologies, boxing him in. Can Whitaker hold on around the outside? No, he's not able to. He's going to cut back across. Is he? Gets right up close to Chapman. He's going to try and go around the outside again. That will give him the inside if he can hold it. No, ducks back underneath with the up and under. He'll have to hold the outside. No, that's the attack done for Whitaker there. So he's lost 3 positions in about a lap. And Sam Chapman's now ahead of him. And it is David Baz, then Barker, then Chapman. And I just wanted to say there are 5 cars in the 2-minute freeze. And they are Chris Whitaker, Stuart Ellis, Reece Gosner, David Baz, and Sam Chapman. Everyone else in 204s or 205s. And just while we were talking, I believe Adam Lavis has been involved in an incident potentially with John Baldwin, because I saw both of them dropping down the timing screens, Lavis in particular, and what that has done is put Brett Barker in a brilliant position to take 3rd in the championship, because he is in 5th and Lavis is in 11th, which crucially means not only would he not get any points from this race, he wouldn't start in the top 10 for the next and benefit from the reverse grid, as we saw Stuart Ellis batting out of attack of Chris Whitaker on your screen. And this is Baz and Barker continuing their wonderful battle around this track.
Yeah, one of the things to keep in mind too with a wet race. So everybody knows that the GR86 has been touted as probably the best sort of driving car. If you asked about it in racing circles, most people would probably tell you it's the Porsche 992. Because the Porsche Cup is so synonymous with sports car racing, but the GR86, it just sort of has a little bit of everything. It's obviously on the slower side, but that of course does not mean any less when it comes to racing. You can have some really good battles, and if you think about it, in the dry, these people will be bumping left and right all day, every day, but in the wet, 5 mil of angle is enough to put you into a further slide. So you might see some unintended pushing, which then someone will have to pull out a lot harder than they would if it were dry, simply because that might be the difference in them catching the slide or letting it go completely. So it's very interesting. Just before, when we were on board and we could see these guys going, like, really hitting each other side by side, that, you know, they kept their cars nice and straight. And so yeah, it just goes to show you some of the skill that we have here in the GSRC Production Car Challenge. And the fight here has it looks like it's died a little bit. Everyone is drawn out, but for the top,
he's going to hit the barrier hard. Just carried too much speed. Back end tried to step out, tried to catch it, and he just speared the car to the right into the wall, unable to control it, particularly with the lack of grip out there. And now here comes Adam Lavis, and this is crucial because that puts Lavis into the top 10 and reverse grid pole, which is crucial for his battle with Brett Barker.
I think that car is done. Yeah, look at that, look at that. He tried to catch, gripped up there. Bang. I have a feeling the steering wheel is bent. We will have confirmation. So when he turns around, let's just have a look here. And yeah, I think that steering is broke because he cannot seem to make it around. Or is he just going it? Yeah, I think that car's broken.
Yeah, you can see it. You can see it's fighting him. It's trying to turn right on him. But yeah, that was crucial for Lavis. As I said, he puts him into pole position for the feature race with only on the penultimate lap of the race. So he'll be thanking his lucky stars for that. Obviously, he wouldn't have wanted the incident, but at least now he has a chance to make up positions on Brett Barker, make up points on Brett Barker next race. And Brett Barker's just lost a position to Adam Proctor and falls down to 7th. So Brett Barker having an incident because he's fallen way out of contention with Chapman and Baz, which means that he is now in 8th place and only just ahead of Adam Lavis on track. So game on for 3rd in the championship as we watch Reece Gosner putting pressure on Stuart Ellis. David Baz still in 4th. Crucially, he's got a 2nd gap to Chapman, so I don't think Chapman's going to be able to make any more progress without a little bit of help from Baz. So 5th looks about like as far as Chapman's recovery goes, which is good considering he started in 3rd place, so it's a decent recovery, but he's giving himself a lot to do in the final race. He's really hoping that, gotta hope that Stuart Ellis has a shocker in the feature race if he wants any chance of getting that championship. And considering the way the drop downs work, this may be game, set and match to Ellis in the championship, but that's not good enough for Ellis. He's going to try and get the win in this race just to make it even more sure. Just nudging to the outside of Chris Whitaker, sticking his nose there a little bit. He's trying around the outside of turn 1 a couple of times and then gone for the up and under and just not really made anything of it. Will he go a little bit more hell for leather this time and really trying to make it work? Because Chris Whitaker will have a bit better braking. Yeah.
I thought he was going to dive on the inside.
So what you're seeing there is on the inside line, yes, you're compromised. Oh, contact!
Yeah, I thought that might happen.
Alex goes around. How quickly can he get it the right direction again? It looks like he's managed to spin it around and continue on, but it's put him behind Chapman. It's put him into 5th place. He should keep 5th. Adam Proctor's a little bit too far behind. Big gap between Chapman and Proctor, but puts him into 5th place. Championship back on.
So that's no fault there of Chris, I don't think.
No.
You could make an argument, I suppose, about room on the inside, but really here is on board who is maybe, I mean, Stewart really only had the curb, but I think that counts. That's technically car space. So the reason why that was so significant for Stewart is because you can see the track goes down and to the left, and so all the water is running in that direction, and all the water pools at the apexes of corners because it's kind of like a V where the road meets that curb. And so because he had to get on there, he's obviously got less grip. He drifts slightly across the track. There's barely any room between himself and Chris Whitaker, and of course he touches the back of that car, and the front of these cars is a lot less stable than the rear. And so, yeah, he went for a spin, and Chris Whitaker managed to keep that thing going straight. So that's a really unfortunate for Stewart. Ellis drops down to 5th position. But if you're Chapman, kind of a blessing in disguise.
Or if you're a commentator wanting to big up the championship battle for the feature race, it's also a it's also a worthwhile surprise. Not cheering for anyone, just want to see the championship battle continue into the final race of the season as you watch Chris Whitaker come across the line for the final time in this race and taking the checkered flag. Said that a little bit prematurely because he's got Gosner within half a second of him behind, but it is Whitaker who takes the victory with Gosner a well-earned 2nd place, and then David Baz take a bow up 8 positions into 3rd place. Fantastic race from him. Sam Chapman takes 4th, capping off a stunning recovery, and Stuart Ellis, after running in the top 2 for all the race, gets it wrong in the final lap and falls down into 5th place to keep the title going into the final race of the season. Guy Leach will come home in 2nd, then Brett Barker, after a late spin, will finish in 7th, just ahead of Adam Lavis, who recovers up to 8th place after his own trials. Then Adam Proctor will finish in 9th, and David Christensen up 5 positions into 10th position and pole position for the feature race. And just back to that incident with Ellis and Whitaker, I think it's one of those, I'm not sure either did anything legally wrong. Both took known risks. Ellis took a risk going for the inside. Whitaker took a risk pinning him so tight to the inside. Did he overset the mark? We'd have to see it again to know exactly how much space. It looked like it was on the limit, but just enough space. But they both took a risk, and when that happens and neither yields, often somebody comes off worse, and it was just bad luck. It was Ellis. You can definitely see that same incident. His car's a little straighter, he hits the back of Whitaker. Whitaker goes for a spin, and Ellis continues. You know, you could see that as just as likely an outcome from that sort of incident. Yeah, so yeah, it'll be interesting to see if race control say anything. But from what I saw, I don't think anyone did anything legally wrong, if that makes sense. And you can argue about what was... If one driver was predominantly to blame, you can take that argument. I think we can probably have the argument all day and make good cases for each driver. So there you go, those are the points from race 1. Whitaker bringing home the big bounty of 30 points, Gosner 27, Baz 24, and Chapman 22 points, gains him a point on Ellis. That's not going to make any real dent, but what it does do is, I think, keep him potentially in the running for the final race. If although he'll still be relying on misfortune for Ellis. Ellis will be looking to just keep it in the top 10. He's starting in the middle of that top 10, fairly safe zone, high up enough to be safe. So that's a blessing in disguise from his late spin, is that he starts less than the mid pack for the next race, which is about all the danger is going into turn 1. Brett Barker gains a point on Adam Lavis, and that battle will continue into the final race. So here we are, the updated standings. So it is 12 points behind Ellis and between Ellis and Chapman, and 13 points between Lavis and Barker, which corresponds to a few positions. The higher up you are, Chapman and Lavis, they really need to be in the podium positions, and they need Ellis and Chapman and Barker need to finish in the podium positions, and Ellis and Lavis need to finish in the back of towards the back of the top 10 for those points to work out, because there are slightly bigger gaps in the points awarded at the top. You saw 3 points, the gap between top cars, and then it gradually boils down to it being 1 point per position lower down. So 13 points, you need at least 4 positions, hence being in podium positions, and their rival in the bottom 5 means we then have to wait for the maths to check out who's actually won the title and who takes home the final podium spot. Interested to see Sam Chapman taking the opportunity to get a few extra laps in these conditions. Conditions do look relatively stable, so I expect it's going to be wet. And yeah, get the spin out of the way now.
Oh, he never actually did a full rotation. Technically, the front end stayed at the front. So,
I mean, if you looked at the line of the direction he went, it looks straight.
yeah. But yeah, it's just going to be more and more of this. You can see that the rain is not easing up at all. I'm really surprised about the dedication of some of the fans here at Interlargos. I haven't seen a single umbrella in the crowd. And so, you know, normally some of these people would have a roof above their heads, but that blew off. When was that? That was last year, right? When
yeah, it wasn't long before the Grand Prix, was it?
No, it was during qualifying.
Yeah.
Where
yeah,
it became
right.
night time. It became a night race, or a night qualifying.
Oh my god, that was mad. Yeah, just like the massive thunderstorm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was incredible. Yeah, because it literally just turned dark, didn't it? It was apocalyptic scenes. Oh, God, so many good memories at Interlargos, though. So many good memories. The duel between Hamilton and Verstappen in 2021. I'm gonna say Hamilton won again. Obviously, is that Glock? What a moment.
So that's a really sad.
Oh my god!
So
yeah.
that's really sad from a couple of perspectives. One, of course, for Hamilton. For
Massa.
Phillip Massa. My mistake. But the other one too is that Timo Glock had to be escorted by security out of the country because of that, and it's a shame that race fans do that. But Brazilian fans are some of the most passionate sports fans that there are, and so I can kind of I don't understand it, but I get it. Like I get why they did what they did. I don't condone it, but yeah, it just sucks that Timo Glock kind of has to live with that forever, and of no fault of his own. His car was broken. It's not that he was slow; his car broke.
Yeah, I'll come back to that in a second. Let's just quickly go through the grid for those that are watching. David Christensen take his pole position for the reverse grid top 10. Adam Proctor alongside him. Then it's Lavis and Barker on the second row in the battle for third. Then it's Guy Leach and Ellis on the third row with Chapman in seventh. So Ellis just ahead of Chapman in the battle for the championship. Then it is Baz, Gosner and Chris Whitaker at the back of the top 10, with Brendan behind him to back him up as brothers do. And they both get a pretty good start, but not as good as the start that Adam Proctor got, who moves immediately into the lead. And Ellis gets a decent lead, and Chapman gets a really terrible start again. Down 3 positions into turn 1. It's like rewatching the first race, going far too cautious on the throttle.
Oh, stop it! How? How did he live?
Oh.
How did he live?
I do not know. But look at the pace. Chapman down the inside there, looking to get 2 cars in that corner. And then we've got...
Go for it a second.
Wow, Sam Chapman actually did a really good job there on the outside, I thought. Oh, take it back. Oh, no, he pulled it up. Never mind. I thought he was just going to go right to the back of Brendan Winnicker there for a second. He did not. But yeah, Guy Leach, man, he had such a tank slapper coming down the center S. He went off to the grass. Luckily, there was that patch update, of course, that gave people a little bit more grip on the grass. But when it's wet, it really does tend to kill you. But he managed to keep it at least a bit straight. He was almost going to take out his teammate, or what I believe to be his teammate. They are running a similar livery. But no, everybody's still, and there is no accident in the log. So this is a much cleaner lap 1. I may have just jinxed it, but it is at least a much cleaner lap 1 than we had in the first race. And so far, everybody is doing a really good job. So Adam Proctor there leading, 0.3 of a point between himself and Adam Lavis. And then there's a little bit of a gap spread there until Guy Leach, which is 0.4, and then Chris Whitaker there in P6. And the only person that is out of sync is Phil King, who must have had something happen earlier on. He is currently 3.9 seconds behind Anthony Adshead in P13.
That save there, did you see that? Chapman got so wide there, the back end twitching out. I thought he was gone, but manages to keep it straight and keep it relatively pinned, given judging by the fact that Whitaker's not been able to get too much of a run on him. But there's a big run here. Guy Leach trying to go around the outside of Chris Whitaker. And nothing doing there. Chris Whitaker, Guy Leach just falls in behind Whitaker, but I'm sure he'll make an attack into the front corner. And if you've got to move at the front for the lead, Lavis getting ahead of Proctor. On the straight, he's got it well clear before the first corner. Proctor with no recourse to get back in. And dives on the inside.
He did
Gets it done though.
Wow.
Well, on the inside, this is Lavis goes for a spin from the lead.
Well, that's
At
unfortunate.
turn 3. That is unfortunate. Capping off what's going to be a little bit of a miserable final round for him in the Production Car Cup. And denting his chances of taking home third. Brett Bocker currently in 6th place, which won't give him, I think will give him the points he needs at the moment, with Lavis down in 11th. We'll have to check the maths on that later on and see where they actually finish. Whitaker going up the other side of Adam Proctor there to get himself into the podium positions. You got Guy Leach and Barker, the teammates behind them, having a right little ding-dong battle. And then just to the back of your shot, Chapman's gone for a spin. Chapman's gone for a big spin. He's in 14th position. Oh, I was just waiting for Chapman to appear back in shot.
No, Sam Chapman went into the pits.
Went into the pit early on. Oh, that's going to be interesting. That's going to be interesting because it's a 25-minute race. So there is going to be a pit stop. I don't know if he had a little bit of damage or if he decided to reset and get himself out of all this battling. But it'll be interesting to see if anybody reacts. And that's contact between Leach and Whitaker.
Yep.
Leach and Whitaker.
Yeah, so Leach was coming across the track and Chris could have opened the steering wheel. He elected, I suppose, not to. and pirouetted Guy Leach there. So Guy Leach drops down to P7, and it looks like Brendan has managed to overtake his brother there for P6. So they'll continue forward. Yeah, it's a good question. I wonder, Sam's probably done this as a strategy call, because his assumption would be if he gets it out of the way now, then he could just focus on driving for the rest of the race. Or it might have been that he became a little bit unstuck coming up towards the end of lap 1 and just thought, okay, well, screw it, I've made the mistake now. Let's just get the piss up over and done with. Stuart Ellis now looks to overtake David Baz. So the reason why I love watching David Baz in anything is because he's got such an aggressive driving style, and it's not that that's inherently bad, it's not, but he does not let anyone have an overtake for free. So you can be guaranteed that it's going to be a spicy one. So he manages to maintain the lead, gets a little sideways, catches it well, has the fastest lap of the race thus far, if you could call it a fast lap, to 2:05.
Yeah, which indicates how bad the conditions are, because we saw 2:03.6 in the race before, so it does seem as if those conditions have worsened between the two races. And yeah, I wonder with Chapman if it is a case of just resetting his head after that poor start. He was in the battle pack and thinking, you know what, too much danger here, I'm not in the right mindset, let's go drive around by myself, calm down a bit and just show my pace. Won't call out his lap time because it won't be in. Excellent. This is Whitaker alongside Whitaker. Whitaker. Is it going to be Whitaker ahead? It's Whitaker ahead of Whitaker. And Chris ahead of Brendan, of course, around the outside. You can see the pace that there is around the outside there, off the racing line. And it's right up the back of Adam Proctor immediately. Oh. And going for the wide line from here, I reckon you're going to see more cars doing that, because I do think there is more pace. It's an interesting corner because it is slightly off camber, so it doesn't really, you do lose a bit of the benefit from the extra grip, but I do think there is pace out there to be found.
Oh, careful. All right, no, he keeps it nice. So Proctor will maintain that position for now. So Chris Whitaker's going really hard into some of these corners. It's working for him. You can see that he gets a little bit of snaps here and there, but he manages to catch a car. Well, they come together. No harm, no fair. They had a clean hit there. Chris goes ahead. I didn't see Proctor's car move too much.
Yeah, they got away with one there, haven't they?
Yeah, they got away with that for sure.
They got away with it. Again, like I said, I think no harm, no foul. I'd have to look at it again, but no harm, no foul. It seems a reasonable call. Guy Leach drops a couple positions, so I think he's come unstuck somewhere. And Adam Proctor just having not the few laps he wanted. He's now behind both Whitakers, losing 3 positions in 2 laps by my maths, which isn't always correct. And the point I've been trying to make multiple times, right? So when you go down the inside, you naturally, obviously, you have to scrub off more speed normally because you have to hold a tighter inside line, right? So you have to brake more. But because you're off the racing line, there's more grip before you're braking on the inside line, which is why we're seeing a bunch of moves able to be done down the inside, hard on the brakes, later than the car on the outside, but actually slow down to a slower minimum speed in the same distance, and then still make the corner because you've got that greater braking grip because you're not on the racing line, you're not on the smooth asphalt, you're on the rougher asphalt with less water on the top, which means more grip for your braking. So that's why we've seen some moves that look abnormal and probably wouldn't come off in the dry, at least certainly not so easily, but in this wet, people diving down the inside and getting it stopped almost on sixpence, and then able to drive away and make the position. Third time I tried to make that point and got distracted. So let's get
what happened there?
I'm not sure, but Chris Whitaker becomes second person to pit, and it looks like he is actually retiring from the race. Chris Stark is retiring from the race. So this is Baz.
Oh,
that is wide.
Do it, J-turn. No, he didn't. I thought he was going to skid and 360 all the way back onto the track. Because
he's still in third.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I didn't get an incident marker for him. Just that it said he went off track and came back on track. So the way that the incident markers work in SDK, which is what we use to maintain our live timing and our broadcast graphics, is if it registers you go under a certain speed, which I believe is about 20 k's an hour, then it registers an incident. So for you not to do that meant you kept momentum. So my hope was that he had pirouetted and full 360 back onto the track and then just kept driving. That would have looked so great. He did about 2/3 of that, but instead, like you said, he's still in third. So
yeah, and I had good pace even. 2 minute 3.4 on the last lap. Can that be right? Oh, they're about to cross the line. That's what it is. As I say, surely that's not right with the pirouette. 208.7. Crucially, Stuart Ellis out front at 204.2. Reese Gosner up 7 spots from 9th to 2nd, pressuring Ellis for the lead of this race. Did a 2.3 dead as his best lap, 3.6 on the last lap, 6 tenths per second faster than Ellis. So keep an eye on that battle because that's coming. Gosner trying to overtake Ellis for the lead, and crucially Chapman running at too slow a pace to be catching these guys. He did 204.9 on the last lap, and looking at my driver track, that is because he has hit traffic. He's come into traffic, so this strategy is not going to work for him because he was over a second slower than Reese Gosner in second place, and 7 tenths slower than Ellis, his championship rival at this point. So I think Ellis has got one hand and probably the pinky finger of the second hand on that trophy already.
There's a really good drive there from Ellis up front. Again, we've got 25 minutes on this clock rather than 15, so there's still plenty of race left to go. Some incidents here and there, but nothing crazy thus far. And Gosner is right there in the fight, 0.8. But then a decent gap, of course, due to that spin from David Baz, 2.7 back in P3. Looks like Anthony Adshead is in attack range of Adam Lavis back down in P8 and 9. So we'll watch them for a small while.
Lavis has just got ahead of Adshead.
Oh, okay,
just
right. So I got the time at the wrong one there. So
yeah.
Yes, Adam Lavis will gain that position. Looks like he is faster through there. Looking at those last lap times, 2 seconds was the difference. 3 seconds. 2 seconds was the difference between Anthony Adshead and Adam Lavis there. So Lavis doing a much better job of this second race than the third. Having said that, though, he did spin
on the lead.
So you win some, you dim some. But in any case, he's up to P8 for now, and yeah, then extends the gap there. So the only real battle is the one up the front end, which is Reese Gosner, Stuart Ellis, and he had it for a second, but I looked back up, and David Baz had one of the slower times in the previous lap, but now he's got one of the faster, 202.719.
202.719. This indicates that either the conditions are getting better or people just get more comfortable with the conditions, because the lap times have dropped by about 3 seconds. It could also be that the tires are just coming up to temperature, and that could explain a little bit of the difference between the front guys and Chapman as well, because we know pure pace wise they should be very similar, but Chapman running around a bit slower than those guys at the moment. 205.0 on the last lap, although he did make an overtake on a couple of drivers, I believe, in the last lap to get up to 11th spot. But at the front of them running 203s deads or in the 202s. Gosner still behind Ellis, but just creeping ever closer to that gap, now below half a second. Whitaker catches a spin and then tries to go for a second spin and catches that as well. He's looking to turn the screws on Brett Barker. but has to be careful he doesn't screw himself out of a good position here with the aggressiveness with which he is driving, and still ahead of his brother Brendan.
So you can see on your screen light and dark patches of the track. So the light patch is obviously the racing line, and that's where the rubber's sort of getting laid on the road. So over time, that actually becomes the slipperier part of the track. Hey, he's back over.
As displayed that.
Wasn't even worried for a
because
second.
he couldn't hold the diameter of the corner there.
Yep. So what'll happen is, technically, what you want to do is, if you brake offline, you tend to stop better, just because you don't have that film of rubber that's causing the slipperiness. And you've also got more water on that part of the road, which means you slow a lot easier, but then you are offline. And so, yeah, you do have to judge between the two. As David Baz does a 202.273. Makes the fastest lap here again. They're going in with it really hard, but the cars are pulling up well. See, the 86 handles good, wet or dry.
I was about to turn this into a three-man race for the lead because he was 1.6 seconds faster than Stuart Ellis on the last lap. And I think Ellis and Gosner have started getting into it because their lap times have dropped on the last lap to 2.3.8 and 2.3.4 respectively. So I think there's a little bit of defense there. Would be the most obvious explanation. Occam's razor and all that. David Baz 202.2, that is incredible speed. Brett Barker 202.7, so he's also pretty quick. And Whitaker at 202.5. So this trio, actually, they've only got a gain between them 2 seconds, and they'll be well in the hunt for victory. So do not rule anyone out of the top 7 out for victory, because it is all pretty tight at this point. And in additions, time can be won or lost very quickly, and positions can be won or lost very quickly, just like that, with a beautiful move from Chris Whitaker up the inside of Brett Barker to put himself into 4th position, 2.5 seconds behind David Baz in 3rd. And crucially, on that last lap, the tides have turned. Chapman taking a second out of Stuart Ellis on that previous lap. So again, be interested to see where they all shake up once they've had their pit stops. Chapman, the only person on the track that has made their pit stop that is in any sort of contention, so we don't have any reference points to know where he actually sits. He could be in 6th, could be in 2nd, could be in 10th, realistically. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. And that is just what we're talking about. David Baz has closed that gap now, so it is 1.5 seconds between 1st and 3rd-ish currently. So this is now a three-way battle for the lead. Three-way horse? That makes no sense whatsoever.
So,
what would that even look like? If you're good at graphics, draw me one of those, please.
A three-way horse? Well, that would be the most confusing Melbourne Cup. That would be what that is. So
It certainly would.
David Baz is doing a really good job here out in front. Actually was a little slower than Reece Gosner there on that lap. Excellent commentary, cheers. Thank you. We try our best. We try our best. So you can see those gaps at the front. For the top 3, they have compressed, as you said. David Baz has done a really good job to close up that gap. Reece Gosner, it's interesting because he's still there in the range, but he's slowly dropping back. I don't know what the deal is there. I don't know if Ellis is just getting more comfortable in the car or whether or not we'll see, because Reece is going really wide. So I wonder if he's just driving a little too much. Maybe he sees that big bright Denso sticker in his rear view and is getting a little bit pressured. David Baz is actually quite good at doing that. Shoots up on the inside, and that's a very clean move there. Oh, be careful with the rear. No, he did it well. So David Baz moves up into P2, and that is why Stuart Ellis has managed to get away, because those two fighting will slow them as... Oh, I don't have words. Every single time they make a move, that rear of that car slips out. And I always forget that these cars are so well handled. Like you can handle them really well. So it's not the end of the world if you see them tail out. And yeah, they're just driving so aggressively right now. This is all going to work in Ellis's favor if they need to calm this down to be able to catch him back up.
It's great fun to watch, though, isn't it? Watching them really battle these machines, really try and muscle them around the track. Have Baz's 4 tyres ever been straight? At any point has his car faced the direction it's going?
They have. It was on the starting grid.
Yes, yeah, good point, good point. As he tries now, the good thing is for him, he has, despite the aggressive driving, he has put a little bit of a distance between himself and Gosnell, so now he can, like, as you said, calm down and just focus on catching Stuart Ellis ahead of him, which is going to be easier said than done.
Oh,
as
that's
Ellis
Chris in the back coming into the pits.
7, but Baz a 2.1 fastest lap of the race. Fastest lap of the race, 6 times faster than Ellis, and that's with the overtake of Gosnell in that lap. Baz absolutely demolishing right now. Do not turn away from the sets, because this is about to get very, very spicy, and we're only 17 minutes into this 25-minute race. The last 5 minutes could be absolutely spectacular. Both Whitaker's pitting. Let's see where they come out in relation to Chapman. That's the big question. If Chapman comes out ahead of them, it's game on. Chris Whitaker's come out ahead of Chapman. Will Brendan comes out ahead of Chapman as well. So Chapman's got a lot of work to do, and yeah, relying on really Baz to start slowing Ellis down if he wants to get in the championship fight. And just another battle in the championship, Barker and Lavis, there's 4 positions between them at the moment because the 2 Whitakers have pitted and they are slotted between the 2 of them, but I don't think Barker's got enough points at the moment. I think it's going to be close, but I think Lavis is just edging out in the battle for 3rd spot.
Yeah, so I wanted to stay on board with David Baz just to see his wheel work, and he actually had that car on full lock. He kept it straight, but that car was on full lock. He is attacking these corners with such vigor. It's really impressive, actually, because for the most part you would think that he'd snap out, but it seems as though he's driving the car on lines where it doesn't grip up when he turns it back. We saw it happen with Brendan in the first race. He absolutely snapped vid right just here and ended up hitting the wall, but that's not happening with Baz's car, so that's really interesting to see. If we move back to Reese Gosnell, we can see it from the rear cam. So David's using a lot of steering input in these corners. He's going nice and aggressive, and it's working for him. He's getting the faster laps, and he's managing to keep the car on the track. So I think all of these guys are going to pit in. Yeah, they are. All right. Yeah. Well, that means we switch over to this man, see where he exits out in relation.
And ignore the fact that it's telling you the Guy Leach was in the lead of the race. He was not. So there was just an error with the timing there.
Whitaker is actually probably the better judge here, because he and his brother both came in. So Chris Whitaker is now moving to the start-finish line. And if we switch to Stuart Ellis is coming out of the pits now. So, of course, we are in Sao Paulo, which means it is an extended pit lane. The speed limiter is way at the back there, so that'll be fine. You can see Chris on the back there. So he's caught up a little bit, but Stuart Ellis still has, it seems, about a 3, maybe 4-second gap. Oh, but he's going to have some decent speed out here. Let's have a look. So officially, Stuart Ellis comes out with about a 4 and a bit second gap behind, and Chapman resolves in 8th place. So the early pit stop for now has not worked as well as he would have hoped.
Oh, there it is. Baz versus Whitaker. Whitaker gets around the outside of Baz. Baz all crossed up on the entry there. Interesting place to see them see that behaviour. I do wonder what happened.
Oh, send it, son!
Oh, go on!
Send it, son! If he gets this, unbelievable. So this is going to be really rough for David Baz, because there's going to be a lot of water on the inside. Oh, and he snaps. That's so unfortunate there for David Baz. I knew it was coming. Oh, that's an interesting rejoin.
Yeah. I think he may have misjudged how slippery that wet grass is there. And loses out to Whitaker as well. And it's going to... I think he'll hold on to the position ahead of Chapman. Crucially, there is a gap there between Whitaker and Chapman as well. So it's an 8th, and it was a distant 8th. I think the championship is out of Chapman's hands now. There's nothing he can do. He's not going to make that much time in 5 laps. Stuart Ellis is your prospective champion. He just has to keep it on track. And now he's right behind Proctor, who will pit in, I assume, on this lap. And yes, Ellis inherits the lead. His only barrier to the championship now is Gosnell behind him. It'll be interesting to see how hard he fights him for the remainder of this race. To be fair, I think even if he...
No, I think Ellis has got it already.
I think Chapman's just not getting enough points, flat out, regardless of where Ellis finishes.
No, I think Ellis has got it in the bag. So this is just a victory laps of sorts. But for Gosnell, I think he just wants to win the race. So I'd imagine he's going
so.
to push this for the rest of it. You can see he just got sideways there and managed to catch it well. Again, it was really unfortunate what happened to David Baz, but the outside of that particular corner, which is, if I remember correctly, it's called Pico de Boate, which is duck beak in Portuguese. And just like water off a duck's back, David Baz went straight off track. So yeah, it's for him. He's still up 3. Kind of going to be happy with that.
Yeah, he's got to be happy with that. Interestingly, another championship battle we're watching. Brett Barker is in 4th. Adam Lavis is in 9th. Now that's interesting. That's one. If those positions stay the same, we're going to have to wait for the maths on that, because that is mighty close. Mighty close. Although Adam Lavis just gets ahead of Adam Proctor. That could be crucial. That could be absolutely crucial in that battle. And Rhys Gosner's doing everything but throwing it off the track, isn't he?
I don't think he cares. At this point, I think he's just like, you know what? Sideways. Let's do it.
Respect.
And he's still within a second too. He's making it work. I love it.
I'd say if in doubt, flat out, but it doesn't really work in the wet because you just almost never flat out. So if in doubt, sideways.
Does he have? Is there a radio in these cars? Or has that been taken out? He's probably got an iPod plugged in. Get a look at Guy Leach's pit entry if you get a second. Okay.
Oh.
I will bite, Mr. Schmidtke. Let us have a look for Guy. He's entered the pit lane. Here we go. Look at it from the drone cam. That's really fast. That's really fast. That's really fast? Ah. Yeah.
That's not how you do that.
Well, there's your problem.
What?
My favourite bit is he didn't make pit. So he's just like, yeah, whatever. And then just went exit stage left and just hit that concrete wall.
There's just immediately a lot of the brakes as brakes. Yes, he just forgot about the speed limit and we suddenly had to put on the brakes and thought, oh. Yeah, we just know what happened there. But either way, spectacular. For sure. So a couple of battles on track that we need to watch out for. We got Rhys Gosner and Chris Whitaker, and then Rhys Gosner and Stuart Ellis for the lead of the race. And then we've got Brett Barker and Chris Whitaker for 3rd. That gap has just blown out to 2nd. So it has got a bit bigger now, but again, that could be crucial in the battle for 3rd. A lot to do for Barker, but all it takes is one mistake for Chris and he's in it. But this is the biggest battle. Gosner versus Ellis for the victory. And Gosner almost pushing Ellis around that corner.
Can't park there is right. Man, so this is really interesting. So Rhys is just so much more aggressive in these corners, but it's working. Like, I don't know exactly what the deal is. If we look at the last lap time, Stuart Ellis had a 2.67 versus Rhys Gosner's 2.75. So Ellis was faster, but the amount of speed that Rhys Gosner makes up in some of these corners. Look at him. Look, he's like, his hands just absolutely left and right. He's going so aggressive. I don't see the same movement from Stuart Ellis's car. You would think it's slower, but he's still there.
And he's going to be there to take the checkered flag. Because I believe, unless I'm mistaken, this will be the checkered flag when they cross the line. And it will be Ellis ahead of Gosner, just doing enough to hold off the determined Gosner, who's up 7th position, certainly the driver of the race. But it's Stuart Ellis who takes the victory and the championship in the Production Car Cup. Rhys Gosner finishes in 2nd, Chris Whitaker in 3rd, also up 7 spots. And then Brett Barker in 4th, which makes it close between him and Ade Lavis for 3rd place championship. We'll have to wait and see who wins out in the battle there. David Baz finishes in 5th after a very, very entertaining race and takes home the fastest lap. Sam Chapman will finish in 6th place ahead of Brendan Whitaker, and then Adam Lavis will bring it home in 8th place ahead of Anthony Outhead and Adam Proctor at the back of the top 10 with Baldwin and King, the only other finishers in a 12-man final field. We're just going to watch the replay of this interesting pit entry from Guy Leach. the warning sounds as well. And now, as always, we wait for some of the drivers to join us in the commentary box. Hopefully, we can get our 4 protagonists in those 2 battles into the booth to have a chat with. If nobody else, I'm sure Chapo will come and have a chat, and I'm sure Ellis will as well, as the theoretical champion, and I don't think there's anything that can get in his way. He's certainly got the points, and that should be job done. And indeed, correct, Stuart Ellis becomes the first driver to join us in the commentary booth. Stuart Ellis, congratulations on the feature race victory, and congratulations on what I am pretty sure is the Production Car Cup Championship.
Yeah, thanks guys. It's been a really good season. I've really enjoyed racing all the different cars, so it's been awesome.
And how did you enjoy that final round with the wet? Was that a twist you were hoping wouldn't come for the final round?
I think it's the same for everybody, which is fine, but that track is really slippery. Like, normally racing in the wet's okay, but that track, there's a couple of corners there just so sketchy, so it was all risk management, you know, trying to go as quick as you can without making major errors. And if you get a big slide on, particularly the last corner coming onto the straight, easy to get a slide there, and you just lose all your drive up the straight and lose it like a second. So it's just trying to not do any of that too many times.
Yeah, we saw your movements with the car and just on the steering wheel much smoother than the guys around you, and staying smooth even when we can see the guys behind you catching you, just throwing it all over the road constantly sideways. Was that deliberate driving style you adopted to try and minimize that risk that you talked about?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So I was just, really gentle on the throttle and just trying to keep it as smooth as I could, sort of keep the mid-corner speed up as much as I could rather than try to stop it, turn it, and then shoot it out of the corner. So, yeah, just trying not to bin it. That was what the risk to the championship was, you know, having a major stack and ending up down the back somewhere.
Talking about major stacks and ending up down the back, that first sprint race, in second place, goes for the overtake and a collision between yourself and Whitaker. How did you read that?
Oh, I should have been happy with second. I couldn't help myself. It was on, and I couldn't not have a crack. So, I mean, yeah, I think Chris squeezed me a little bit, but at the same time, I know, you know, he was trying not to get too wide because there's no grip on the outside of that corner either. So, you know, it's no one's fault. You're just trying to find whatever grip you can, and you know, he's just trying to. He left me almost enough room. It was only a slight touch, but anyway, that's it. I should have known better.
It was a slight touch. It's one of those where you could have seen either car spinning or both cars being fine, because it was such a minor touch. It was just bad luck that it was yourself. But in a way, do you think perversely that helped you in the feature race because it reminded you of the dangers? And do you think that helped you just stay that little bit calmer in the feature race?
I think it helped to move me up the front in the feature race at the start, because I started off, up, otherwise I would have been starting off 9. So so it's sort of, I suppose it's a double-edged sword. It helps you avoid any carnage that could have happened in the first lap of the second race. So yeah, it's just trying to get through without dying, basically.
If you're willing, I'd like to hold off a couple of questions around the entire championship, just until we've spoken to the other drivers, so we can talk to our series champion last in the stream. Would you be happy to do that? Yeah,
sure. No worries.
Sure. Thank you very much. We'll head over temporarily to Sam Chapman. Commiserations on not being able to make the leap and hunt down Sir Ellis in the championship fight, but you didn't make life easy for yourself with those 2 starts. What happened?
Yeah, no, I made my rod for my own back tonight. It was pretty rubbish. So the starts, like I hadn't done any starts in the rain. I didn't know what I was doing. So the first one I sort of went, I got a cramp and tried to sort of like half throttle and it bogged down. And the second start, I think I tried something else. That was rubbish too. So that just cost me a fortune in both races. And it was, like probably about 6-7 positions in each of them. So not a good way to start them. Probably should have thought about that before going out there.
Yeah, particularly as the series runner and the person who knows whether it's going to rain or not. Was rain a deliberate decision for the final round?
It was always like the idea was that there would be some rain, most likely, because it is Interlargos and it's a rain-enabled car. I had it on like real weather, but had it on like likely to rain, so it wasn't necessarily going to happen, but it was most likely going to happen. Yeah, ended up raining more than probably I expected. Yeah, clearly I'm better in the dry or the drying than in the rain, because I was rubbish out there tonight.
So credit to you for not taking advantage of knowing it was likely to rain and going and practicing your starts. In hindsight, maybe a decision you'd rethink in the future. Can you just talk to us about the Production Car Cup and how it's run this season, and what you think about the changes to coming for next season?
Yeah, I think it's been. I think we had a pretty good season. The numbers have been pretty solid. We've seen sort of a good range of cars and circuits and good range of drivers. We've had some good battles, I think, right across the field. Obviously, Stuart was brilliant up front. You know, Chris and I had great battles throughout this season. Others that have jumped in as well. So it's been a good season. Next season will be, once again, same cars, except we're swapping out the Porsche for the GT1s. So the format will remain similar. Just have to come up with a few new tracks, and I don't think any more are rain enabled, so I might be safe for a little bit longer.
Yeah, it might be. And before I let you go, have you got any words for our series champion?
Oh, absolute congrats to Stuart once again. He did a brilliant job all season, mate. So well done, and you put the cherry on top tonight. So yeah, well done, mate.
Thanks, Sam.
Okay, thanks heaps, Sam, for joining us in Commentary Box and for running this series. It's been an absolute pleasure to watch you guys battling it out across a range of cars for the last 10 weeks, and looking forward to doing the same next season.
Yes.
All right, we'll move on to the final driver that I believe has joined us in the box, and that would be Chris Whitaker. Chris, how did you view tonight's racing?
Oh, maybe we don't have Chris here.
Oh, I see a green line.
What's going on here? So, hold on,
There we
got to put another button on. There we go, that's better. Yeah, so if you set it to control, you have to use the actual left control, not the right control. Go figure. So there we go. Evening, lads. Yeah, how did I see tonight? Wet and slippery. That's Exhibit A right there. Yeah, take my hat off to Stuart, and Dave Baz was bloody flying in that in both of those races. I don't know where he found that pace, but yeah, it was pretty impressive. But yeah, that was good fun. Really enjoyed that.
Yeah, it was very entertaining. You were in the midst of battles for the entirety of both races. Obviously, the key battle being that one between yourself and Stuart in the sprint race. How did you see that incident?
Oh yeah, I called it in myself. I probably just didn't quite leave him enough room after bouncing off the curb. So if it was a dry track, it would have been fine, I think, because you can actually use the curb on the right-hander. But in the wet, obviously, the second you even look sideways at the ripple strips, the cars just they just spit anywhere. So yeah, that's all on me. I just didn't leave him enough room.
Yeah, fair enough. Sorry, go on, Daniel.
I just wanted to say, my question to you, Chris. We saw a couple of people in here with just very aggressive driving styles. Yourself being one of them. We saw, as you alluded to, David Baz. You're right, he was flying and then unfortunately tried to overtake you on the outside of this turn and went flying off the track. And Reece Gosner also had a lot of aggressive turns. My question to you is, did you find the more control when the car was going forwards or when it was going sideways?
I'm still struggling with these things with the 86s and the MX-5s. Just we find that balance point when they're crossed up on the new wheel. I don't get the feel that the old wheel had. So it's just a bit of a learning thing, changing wheel rotations and stuff like that. So definitely a lot more comfortable when it's straight, but starting to get the head around, sort of getting a little bit of a slide on in it as well. But yeah, definitely not as comfortable as, a couple of seasons ago when we ran the 86s for the full season, where, you could deliberately have the wheel hop thing going on under brakes and stuff like that. There's no way in hell you're going to try anything like that tonight, even in the dry. Well, I wasn't anyway, even in the dry. No, I'm loving the rain. It's an added element. Brendan's not the biggest fan of it. He's really struggling to get his head around it, but while it was dry, he showed his pace. While he's struggling, I'll make the most of that as well, I guess.
No, that's fair enough. Yeah, he had quite a moment coming up towards the last sector of the circuit as you come up the hill towards the left-hander. He ended up getting, as you said, this car's very easy to get crossed up, but in the dry you can sort of hold on to it and bring it back, and he went a little bit too far left and then went for the correction and then somehow managed to hit the 1 millimeter part of the track that had grip, and the car just snapped right and he went straight off into the barrier. So it was an unfortunate couple of races for him.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's how it goes sometimes. That corner they were just showing there, that right-hander in race 1 and Quali on a different line, there's a bit of dry stuff on the inside of the track I could get to, and it was hauling through there from the tight line. But the second race, I spent 3/4 of the race trying to find that line again, and then finally worked out that it wasn't actually there, and we had to run the high line through there, but sort of hurt the pace a little bit. But yeah, as I say, it was good fun. I'm dripping with sweat despite it being freezing bloody cold, but that is what it is. But obviously, congrats to Stuart, to Sam and Adam for the podium and championship. We'll both be back for the full season next season, so game on, Miles. We want our number 1 back, so we'll bring it. And correct me if I'm wrong, Sam, if you're still there, but is that the first season or first series that we've run together and not taken each other out?
Oh, that's a good point.
I think there was probably a few seasons where I was pretty slow and wasn't around you and we didn't get taken out, but certainly the first one for a while, so I think we deserve a pat on the back there.
It's certainly worth a beer or two, mate.
It was even TCRs. You guys even raced TCRs and didn't take each other out.
Yeah, I know. It's because I was too slow. After that tyre update, I couldn't click with it.
And you missed Knock Hill as well. I reckon if you got to Knock Hill, we could have a bit of a different story, maybe. Knock Hill's one of those ones where there's just no room, so you're going to have elbows out. So guaranteed one of us would have ended up in the fence and the other one would have been hit me 4 naughty words. Well, it'll be good to have you guys back for the full season. It'll make things very, very interesting, I reckon.
Yeah, it's just all it come down to really. We started obviously the GT4 season, but it just once we clicked over daylight saving or clicked off daylight saving. Thank goodness Zach's not here, but once we clicked off it again, it's just finished. It's too late for for me because I need my beauty sleep. But Brendan and Anthony both start work at Sparrow Fart, so it's just too hard when you're finishing at sort of 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, and then trying to get to bed, and you're still wound up because someone hit you up the bum or whatever's happened. So we sort of made the call halfway through the season to just go back to the Proddy cars, and we'll just sort of see where we land for a couple of rounds, and we're hooked again. So yeah, good to step back on the calendar again next season.
Yeah, excellent race from everyone there, and can't wait to see all you guys back, and the fact that we're throwing GT1s into the mix. I absolutely love the GT1s, and they should come across really, really well. Yeah, I think that'll be a really spicy season for everyone. Throw things back to you, Liam.
Yeah, so it will be a spicy season, and thank you very much, Sam and Chris, for being part of that season and for joining us in the commentary box. We'll speak to you again in a few weeks' time when we're back at round 1 for the next season.
No worries. Cheers, boys.
Of course, the spiciest season was had by Stuart Ellis. Congratulations again on becoming champion. And I'd just like you to first of all take us through what you think were the key moments in the season that were turning points in the championship for yourself, and then just give us a few words about what the championship means to you.
Turning points, there probably wasn't any major turning points. I was consistently up the front and just managed to score good points every round. So that sort of came together. That Porsche Cup race at Spa, I think, is probably one of the best races I've put together for a long time. And yeah, just tried to hang in there, and a bit of risk management as well. Like, just got to take points when they're on, and like I didn't in that first race tonight. So just trying to not go for too much too often and end up with nothing. So yeah, just been trying to hang in there. But there's a role of, you know, just luck and who's got pace on what night, and it really changes things up with this format with different cars and the weather and stuff like that. Like, you know, you think you've got pace and you get on and, you know, you're nowhere near it. So just trying to sort of hang in there at the front as best I could, but really enjoyed the season. I haven't spent a lot of time in the MX-5. I didn't own the Ford 500 car before this season, so I really enjoyed driving them. So that was, you know, a lot of fun. Like the Ford, I found some pace in it, but I couldn't get through a race without absolutely killing the rear tyres. So really struggled in that race at Aragon with the rears. In the end, I just couldn't. I ended up spinning all over the place. It was terrible. So yeah, it was just good fun. We've had great races with all the boys, the Whittaker brothers and Sam and Reese and John Merritt, and it's always on every week. Been awesome.
Yeah, excellent. And what's taking home the championship mean for you? How does it rank amongst your sim racing achievements?
Well, these are my only achievements, I think, with the GSRC. So yeah, it does mean something. Like you tell yourself, it doesn't matter at the start of the season, but as the season progresses and you're hanging around the top, you start to become more focused on it. So yeah, it'll mean more next season if we get the Whittaker brothers for the whole season as well, because that's going to raise the bar a lot too. So those guys are very quick.
Yeah, so it does very well said. Look, go enjoy the rest of your night. Go celebrate however you wish to do so. If there's a bit of alcohol involved, I would not be. I think that would be quite fair. And ideally, sitting around and watching the GT4s that we've got coming up in a few minutes' time. Thank you very much for joining us at Commentary Box. Congratulations again on your championship, and yeah, go enjoy the rest of your night.
Thanks, boys, and thanks for the commentary throughout the season. It's been unreal.
It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure. All right, and of course we're only able to bring you the commentary, bring you the scenes that we have throughout the season, the fantastic racing that has become a staple of Wednesday nights at the GSRC because of the kind support of our club sponsors, and they include Waste Options, Sprayton Non-Alcoholic Cider, Orbic Australia, Lobesy Racing, M-Wave Australia, and Flash Graphics. We're going to take a short break now, but stay tuned because we will be back in a few minutes' time to bring you the hour-long Enduro finale of the GT4 Championship live from Phillip Island. See you in a few minutes. Welcome back, everybody, and welcome to the finale of the GT4 Championship live from Phillip Island. It is a single race tonight, 60 minutes in duration, and we have got an absolutely stacked field for you. 26 cars currently in the server. And look at this magnificent racetrack in Victoria. As I said controversially last week, I think the best track in Australia. He says it quietly. These are your track conditions. I can almost hear Daniel wanting to come back at that. But track conditions first. 20 degree track temperature, 19 degrees air temp. Not much wind, 2 kilometers an hour, so that's absolutely nothing. You're not even going to feel that. Partially cloudy, none of that water that we had peskily on the track around Interlargos. Nice dry conditions for this GT4 race. Absolutely perfect conditions, actually. And look at that idyllic setting with the sea in the background, not in this shot, but in some of the other shots. There we go, the sea in the background. These are your championship standings. Sadly, I don't think we got a championship decided on our hands, because I believe the championship has already been decided and it is going the way of Sam Muir. However, it's not to say there's nothing up for grabs. There are more points up for grabs in a 1 hour long race, and there is plenty of intrigue in this pack. Primarily, who is going to get on that podium and in what order? Gary Cousins is on 322 points. He's in the best spot, and he had Adam Lavis and John Merritt right behind him. John Merritt on 293, Adam Lavis 292. Those three could finish in any order, and if Merritt or Lavis have a bad round and Wood or Turner have a really good round, they could just about haul them in. So we do have a few names there. Remember, Cousins, Merritt, Maverick. That's going to be the main storyline to follow for this feature race, because those three positions could swap an AF4 the pointy end. Of course, there's always battles going on lower down the field where the points are closer, and one special result could change the dynamics of the championship for so many of these drivers. And of course, when I say Adam Maverick, that name is what appears on your screen, but we will refer to him in commentary as Adam Lavis. Hopefully you'll be used to that if you're listening to this commentary on the GSRC for any length of time. But just to clarify, if you ever get confused when we say Lavis, we do mean Adam Maverick on your timing screens. And we just wait for qualifying to finish, and it has indeed finished just as I say that, and we're waiting for the cars to line up on the grid, and we'll bring you the starting grid just as soon as we can. And here it is, thanks to the brilliant work of Daniel. We have got Samuel on pole, not a surprise given we just said about how he's won a race championship lead, but Aidan Lufway alongside him. Aidan Lufway's been in and out of the championship, but always shows incredible speed when he is in, as does Jordan Malcolm in third place, with Trent Lavis in fourth. Then on the third row we have Gary Cousins and Jeff Adams, then it is Jake Slade and Paul Wood on the fourth row, and Jonathan Hooper and Dale Sharp at the back of the top 10. In 11th place is Chuck Fung Wong with Neil De Bruyn alongside him. On the next row is Proctor and Christensen. Then it is Lavis and Gladwin on the 8th row. On the 9th is Snadden with Zuno alongside him. Then it is Chapman and Fodiadis at the back of the top 20. Thanks to a healthy grid, we continue naming the names. We've got Bradbury in 21st, Zamora in 22nd, then Heaney in 23rd, Little in 24th, Colgan in 25th, and Sean Rees at the back of the field, who I do not think is taking part. I believe he may be in race control. So there we go. Those are your 25 drivers that are going to be contesting this 1 hour race. And they will form up in 2 lines behind the safety car, because we always have a safety car start in the GT4 class to evoke that feeling of endurance racing, which is where the GT4s are most commonly seen as the entry category for endurance racing, followed by the GT3s and then your LMP2s and your hypercars. GT3s, of course, being the most popular of those. GT4s in GSRC started off as the accompaniment to the GT3s, the natural progression on the Monday night from GT4s to GT3s, but the GT4s got so popular we decided to make them the feature of their own night, and the category has never been stronger in terms of the competition. Numbers have dwindled down a little bit compared to the heyday, not being on a Monday night anymore, which is often the easiest night to race for a lot of people. However, the competition has not dwindled. Safety car will lead them away now, and then Samuel will lead the field for the final time in this season. deciding when to put the medal down and take us to green flag racing.
As these guys make their way towards that start-finish line to kick off final race of the night and this season, just strap yourselves in because we are checking all the boxes. 60-minute race, Phillip Island, GT4s. I have a feeling we are going to be in for a crazy final race.
Yes, and hopefully we've got a few people watching because it should be absolutely fantastic. We've certainly got Jessica Robinson watching. She's cheering for Sharpie, who's got a lot of work to do from 10th if he wants to get into the pointing end, but just holding on to that top 10 will represent a strong result for Dale. So we'll be cheering for him in commentary box. As Samuel leads the grid away, and John Malcolm immediately gets to jump on Aidan Lufway to make it a 1-9-1-2. That's a bit of a tongue twister, trying to say that too many times in a row. And Lufway slots into third place. Samuel getting a really strong start. This is exactly what he wanted, to try and cap his championship off with an exclamation mark. Gary Cousins is in 5th, and he is in that battle for 2nd and 3rd place in the championship. For us to watch for that name and where he will finish. Plus, we're going to have a couple of pit stops in this race. I'll be interested to see how the strategy plays out across the next 60 minutes. A bit further down the pack, Eduardo Zamora has made fantastic progress at the start. He's up 6 spots ahead of Christensen, Gladwin, Chapman, Bradbury, and Heaney. Nick Ferdiales, the big loser, he's down 4 spots from 20th to 24th. So just not getting the jump that he will have wanted. On screen we've got Gary Cousins in the centre of your focus. The silver and yellow car behind him is Jeff Adams, watching him to be aggressive. We've seen some great manoeuvres from Jeff Adams across the season. Aidan Lufway is another driver who has been absolutely spectacular at times, and he is chasing down Jordan Malcolm to try and interrupt that 1-9 progression at the front of the field.
Obviously a long slog for these guys to go. 1 minute of a 60-minute endeavour. They're just getting into their lines, into their grooves, trying to find the right flow state. See at least one pit stop in this race. So pit strategy will be important for some. Most people will be looking to try and do some fuel saving to be able to minimise that amount of time lost in the pit lane. We see a bunch of cars going off to the right there, which is actually quite characteristic of this track because that is what that final corner tries to do to you. It tries to feed you into that beautiful beach on the right hand side. Sam Muir crossing the line with the fastest time, 1:38.7. I'm sure that will dwindle down faster and faster as time goes on. All the gaps still quite close. Seems to be an increase there in P14. Adam Proctor's dropped back a little bit, so it's Greg Heaney there in P19. And Nick Ferdiata started from the pits, so that is why he is 13 seconds back.
Yeah, and I think Sam Chapman's just had a big off, I assume, at the final corner because he's now 5 seconds off the rest of the field. So it's not been the night to remember for him, but hopefully he can rescue some fun for the remainder of this race. We saw, interestingly, out of that final corner, Lufway get a really good run on Jordan Malcolm, but it wasn't enough to get him fully alongside going into turn 1, and he had to back out of the manoeuvre instead of trying to hang on around the inside. So that tells us that the slipstream down the stop-finish straight is not going to be enough to get the move done unless you do get a really, really good run at that final corner. Probably going to require a small mistake from the car ahead to give you that opportunity.
On the inside.
So you want to make an overtake, you have to go ambitious. And it's contact immediately. And that's when Lufway continues on, but Jordan Malcolm goes for a bit of a, I was going to say spin, but it kept it going, so just got knocked out wide and is able to recover. There he is, just ahead of Jeff Adams. That's a big manoeuvre. It's an ambitious manoeuvre. We'll have to get a look at it from another angle to know who's in the right, who's in the wrong. So Lufway gets a good run through here. And the drop down from Lukey Heights. Yeah, I think he just turned in on.
Yeah, so Jordan very clearly turned in on Aiden there, and I think the reason for that is I don't think Jordan thought Aiden would be that far up in the corner. So that's quite unfortunate for Jordan there, because he has been caught out by the fact that there was a lumbering Mercedes on that inside line. It wasn't a crazy dive either, so yeah, maybe just a lapse in judgment there from Jordan. Maybe Aiden hit him in the blind spot, but yeah, it was very clear there was a car there, and Jordan did quite a sharp turn going into the corner. So I think that one's on him, unfortunately, but luckily for him, 60 minutes in the race. So
yeah, I think you're going to put one driver predominantly in lane. It's got to be Jordan Malcolm in that, because Aiden Lithwaite absolutely had the right to be there, and it counts to basically being left no space on the inside by Jordan Malcolm. However, he didn't do anything silly. He didn't do anything obviously wrong, except perhaps just not being aware that the car was there. So again, it's a case of I can't imagine stewards are looking at it at all or think anything of it. It's just one of those drivers where both drivers took a bit of a risk, and it came off worse for one of the drivers, that being John Malcolm, but not too badly. Not like in the what we saw in the sprint race for the Production Car Cup. Instead, John Malcolm only drops a couple of positions down to 5th, and he is only 1.5 seconds behind the other car involved in that incident. So he certainly got the opportunity to recover those positions and get back into the podium places and reclaim his honour. And as I say that, Trent Lavis puts in the fastest lap of the race in 3rd place, and this is him on your screen, turning the screws on Lithwaite. Not able to make a move happen into the southern loop.
Yeah, this doesn't surprise me at all. One, Trent Lavis, we know he's fast. 2, the Aston Martin's actually really good around Phillip Island. We've seen that in previous seasons. And also, yeah, we were talking with Sam Chapman just before we came live for the GT4s, and the GT4's obviously got a tyre update. Now, I'm not too familiar with exactly what changed, but there have been reports that some of the cars are a little bit easier to drive and you can be a lot more aggressive with them. So I'm wondering if the Aston Martin is one of those, and if that is the case, then Trent Lavis will be smiling from ear to ear under that helmet, because he was already fast. And so you tell him that the Aston Martin is more stable, then yeah, it doesn't shock me that he'll be putting in fast lap times. The question is, will we be able to maintain those fast lap times over the course of 60 minutes? Previous results indicate that yes, that will be the case. We can already see some gaps starting to form in the midfield, those, but there's still a lot of red and yellow on that timing tower, which means people are still well and truly fighting. We're only 6 minutes in, and for now, Sam Muir doing a really good job of leading the pack here. 1.17 seconds, the gap between himself and Aiden Lithwaite. And as we said, Trent Lavis is right there waiting to make that move, but he really shouldn't rush because he's got time on his side.
Yeah, the wonderful thing about these cars and all of the slower cars that we race on a Wednesday night, in particular at the GSRC, is that they bring that balance between racecraft and outright pace more towards racecraft, because there's not the gaps in outright pace for you to be able to make the difference in final position, finishing position, just for raw pace as easily as you can in other cars when there's more pace available to you. You know, you stick them in an Indy car or another high-powered vehicle, the LMP2s for instance, and that pace is going to be what decides your finish position more often than not, because qualifying is more important. It's harder to make an overtake, so your raw pace becomes more important. But in these cars, you can have having a lot more raw pace than someone means half a second instead of a second. And then they're so easy to race that if your racecraft isn't up to snuff, you will fall backwards. You will fall backwards in the race, and you will make progress in the race if your racecraft is better than your outright pace. So that balance is much more even in these slow cars, and that's why we get such fantastic racing, because it's easier for you to lose spots in qualifying because the gaps are smaller to begin with, so one mistake is more costly if you don't quite achieve your outright pace. But then they're so raceable, so easy to overtake, that you can make maneuvers, you can make it happen in the race. The qualifying does not dictate your finishing position, which is absolutely beautiful, and one of the joys of watching motorsport on the Wednesday night at the GSRC, and watching these incredibly fun to drive in terms of certainly in terms of racing, but also cars that require a lot of skill to extract the pace out of them. And Trent Lavis is one of the best at that, as is Lithwaite, and evidently Sam Muir as he leads the championship. Oh. And as I said that, some of the gaps have grown.
And it's also just evidence as to why sports car racing is so popular. You've probably heard many times about how tired people are of GT3s and sim racing games, and it's true of all of the racing disciplines that are available across all the sims. GT3 is the common factor, but there is a reason. It's because these styles, this GT3, GT4 style, it works. Sometimes you very rarely see a race like this that is just a procession of cars. There's battle happening all the time. You've heard time and time again from the Formula One community, sometimes it's a bore. It's, everybody knows, yes, you're going to hear the national anthem of the Netherlands. That's guaranteed. And we've just gotten used to that. But for disciplines like this, it's anyone's game. And at GSRC, that seems to be what happens week in, week out. Sam Muir, of course, he's going to take the championship. We've already established that because of his strong performance throughout the season. But that doesn't mean that everyone else, the other 25 people on the racetrack right now, they're all going to have fights with each other. And as we just round out towards the 10-minute mark, actually, there hasn't been too many movements. There's some down the bottom. Let's see, Eduardo Zamora up 5 positions, as you said before. Brett Bradbury up 3. Kelvin Little down at the back there, driving for Side Hustle Racing. He's up 4 positions, so he'll be happy with that in the Merc. And as far as laps go, we're all floating around that 134.
Yeah, and just to emphasize what you were saying there about how we have different winners often, and it's very different to, you know, sort of F1 style where you get one driver tend to run away with it. Samuel is going to win the championship in a landslide, but he's only had 3 round victories. 3 round victories across the season. So in 9 rounds, he's only won a third of them. But he's the runaway championship leader. That just goes to show how competitive it is and how much those points are being split across the other drivers. And that's why nobody's been able to go with him, because he's been one of the only ones that has constantly been up there at the front, whereas others have had their moment in the limelight. They've taken victories, but they just haven't been able to do it round in, round out. It's quite a surprising stat to see with such a commanding lead that is actually built on only 3 round victories so far, though is looking to make it into a 4th this time out, is in a very good position to do so, having now a second buffer over an Aidan Lufway. But what we do not know is how much fuel any of them are saving and how these pit stop strategy is going to turn out across the next 50 minutes, as we're watching Dane Snadden looking very aggressive behind Adam Lavis, sort of showing that he thinks he's got more pace at the moment, but not able to find a clear path through.
Being held up there coming down the hill. And so, as it seems, everybody's sort of keeping steady. I thought Trent might try and look for an early overtake, but that's not the case. He's floating around that 3/10 mark. He's doing well. Jordan Malcolm there trying to make his way back up to those top positions. He actually might go for a pass here on Gary Cousins. They just come around turn 2. And see if he can try and tuck in, maybe get the overtake done coming down to hairpin. No, looks like he's going to stay in line. Probably the safer option. We see too many people try and go down the inside, miss the brake marker, and just take themselves and the person next to them straight off. So probably best to avoid making a mistake early on. Jeff Adams is also doing a really good job sticking with Malcolm at the moment. These 3 have been in that pack. Paul Wood has also been floating in and out, currently matching pace with them. And then there's a 1.1 second gap to Slade, and then a 2.2 second gap to Dale Sharp there in P9.
Yeah, and some very even pace at the moment at the front of the field. Lavis, Lufway and Muir showing very even pace over the last 5 laps. With then another gaggle of cars showing very even pace, and they are Cousins, Malcolm, Adams, Wood and Slade, all very evenly paced and a bit faster than those cars around them. So look for that battle group from sort of 4th down to 8th to make a breakaway from the rest of the top 10. In fact, they're already 2 seconds clear of Dale Sharp as we watch Neil Gladwin getting all wrong and going on a journey to discover what the grass is like out there. It is fairly dry and fairly short at this time of year. I could have told you that. No need to go out there with your car. We come back on board with Jordan Malcolm. He is right behind Gary Cousins. 0.36 of a second between the 2 of them. It's interesting, isn't it? In some cars, if 0.36 of a second, you'd be like, oh my god, there must be a move underway for them to be so close. Then you look at it here and he looks quite far away from that camera. Just such as the... Whoa! So Jordan Malcolm, it looks like he got a wheel on the grass on the outside coming out of the hairpin, and then has to take action to correct the car and stop it from steering into the wall by itself as those tires spin up. But it does so, and loses a position to Jeff Adams in the process.
Managing to keep it in front of Paul Wood there, so goes from 5th to 7th, and just these small mistakes starting to creep up. His teammate though is doing really well out front. Having said that, the gap of almost 1.5 seconds has been brought down. You can see now that Sam Muir, Aidan Luthwaite and Trent Lavis are all about the same distance from each other there. So this is a very, very healthy front pack of three. Gary Cousins tries to catch up to them as they cross the line. We'll see what those times are like. 134.4, 134.43, 134.46. They are... Oh, that's actually the same. Sam Muir and Trent Lavis just did the exact same lap time. So you can see that these guys are driving almost the same line. And then, unfortunately, Gary Cousins is slightly behind. So if they get into a position where they can fight a little bit more, that'll work in Gary's favour. And then we'll have a four-way battle, possibly even a five-way battle, because Jeff Adams is right there on the cusp as well. But as it stands, yeah, these front three are matching each other very, very closely.
And crucially for them, they are pulling away from Gary Cousins. They're just a couple of tenths faster than Cousins relentlessly lap after lap after lap. And that is allowing them to pull away and turn this into a three-car battle in this race. Of course, plenty of time for things to change, still 45 minutes to go. But these three getting off to a very healthy start indeed. I'll be interested to see who's got the most outright pace, because of course Luthwaite and Lavis are getting a little bit of help from that toe from Samuel, because these are such low downforce cars that you don't get much of a help, much hindrance around the corners, because there's no downforce as such to hinder. But through the straights, you still get the benefit of not having to push that cut out of the way. So it is just a pure benefit being close behind the car behind in these cars. But how much of that is impacting them, I don't know. What it might be doing is allowing them to save more fuel behind Samuel. So don't be surprised if Luthwaite and Lavis go for an extra lap when Samuel dives into pit lane in what I suspect will be around 3 to 4 laps time. Put it back to Adam Lavis, looking to make up for a slightly disappointing production car outing just now. However, he did manage to wrap up third in the championship, so no, he'll be very pleased with that, but would like to have done it with a better result in the final round. There was a lot of opportunities there, but span out of the lead in the feature race. So hopefully he keeps it on track for this one and is able to take that 13th and perhaps turn it into a top 10 finish by the end of this one. Behind him in your shot is Chuk Fung Wong. He's had a up and down season, I think it's fair to say, showing tremendous pace at times and been running in the top 10, even the top 5 about other times. Hasn't quite had the pace to run in the upper echelons of this series.
I'm just going to go back to Tim Chapman here, who has been having quite an interesting adventure, and I might just even ask him.
Don't need to bother.
There we go.
That's,
That's all.
The Porsche doing Porsche things to a tired man is what's going on there. So I've pulled up. It's I'm a bit too tired. I'm not paying attention. It's time to call it a night, I think.
Okay, so there's 3 showing. Yep. Just so that one's just a little bit wide.
Yeah.
Fair to say your attention's been on the Production Car Cup this season and not the GT4s.
I think that's fair to say. Every time I've done the GT4s, it's been jumping in Quali and see what's going on. It worked very well in Zandvoort last week, but you know, when I worked out how to hook it up, but even then, I was still it's that Porsche that just keeping that rear end in check is quite. You've got to be really on top of it because it's really easy to lose it. And I did a bit last week too, but yeah. Around here, just couldn't find any pace. I thought we'd call it a night before I spun off and hit someone else. But how's this? I love how even the manufacturers are now too. Though, like look at all the different ones in the top sort of section there. But yeah, of course, Sammy Buell's leading the way.
Yeah, they're pretty even. So let's see. If we take the top 10, for example, there's 2 Porsche, there's 1 Aston Martin, 3 Beamers, and 3 Mercedes.
Yeah, no, McLaren's not getting too much of a showing.
No, it's not.
But that's because every time it's not completely bopped, Jordan Malcolm comes in and absolutely trumps everyone in it. So they go, well, no, it's got to be bopped again. So feel sorry for the McLaren drivers. What I started in GT4 and found it horrible. So we've switched to the Porsche since. I've heard good things about the Aston now, though, since an update like about a season ago. Apparently, it's the absolute beast. So I might have to give that a crack.
It's certainly one of the best locking of the GT4s, isn't it?
Yeah.
But okay, so here's the thing. being really good looking does not determine pace, and that's evident because, as we just mentioned, I think that the McLaren is the best looking car of all of them, and it is currently in 17th. So, which is unfortunate because I believe it also blows flames.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. Like, it is the best looking. That's why I bought it, right? Me and my noob self bought that, but yeah, I just couldn't. It just felt numb to me though when I was driving it. But I was driving it on a rubbish wheel as well, so who knows? Maybe it might feel not so bad now.
Am I right in believing it's the only car that spurts out flames on the whole platform?
No, it's not on the whole platform. Because there's plenty of others that do, but in GT4s it's the only one that does.
Oh, that's what I've got in my head. That must be what I've got in my head.
No, there's flames that come out of, let me think. I think one of the F1 cars, one of the older ones does flames. I think they're not as pronounced though, I'll give you that. So some of the other ones come up with like a bluish flame, whereas the McLaren actually has like proper flamethrowers.
Yeah, it looks like you could use it to melt snow if you needed to.
Yeah, good snow car, the McLaren. I reckon it would do well. Okay, a few pit stops now, so the 20-minute mark. Yeah, I'm not surprised. So you are able to go probably one further if you've saved a little bit extra. Trent always complains about being able to not save fuel in the Aston, but look at him go. So that'll make things interesting. That he's been able to save a little bit of fuel here.
I mean, maybe he won't make it round. Maybe he'll prove you right. He won't make it round the track another time.
Well, yeah,
I'm sure he will.
Maybe not. Oh, but just tell him he needs to stop whinging about not being able to fuel save in the Aston while he goes ahead of everyone, though. That's all. And the Beamer too, with Jordan. So, you know, often it is something the Porsche is relatively good at, but clearly tonight they're not doing it.
Isn't whinging, like, at this point, whinging for a race car driver is like flashing lights. It just comes, it's part of the course. Like how many times do you hear, you know, like the very famous and meme-worthy Bono my tyres proceeds to set fastest lap. So it's like, I don't know, like at this point, is there even any point? Like, nobody believes you.
I don't know. I still come up with excuses every time I come in the box. You know, I'm tired here. Oh, yeah, no, like this happened to, you know, rubbish internet. Oh, no, the wheel fell off. You know, I've got everything.
I didn't practice my starts to the wet.
I didn't practice my starts to the wet. There's a classic for you. You got to have an excuse to if you're rubbish, right? Like you got to come up with something.
I'm honestly the complete opposite. I kid you not. So I'm very much of the thing that I feel like I'm in control of my abilities on the racetrack. I never really have, like, don't get me wrong, sometimes you get taken out, right? But I'm the type of person where, like, my wheel could fall off. And most people would be like, oh, yeah, wheel fell off, can't really do much. And in my head, I'd be like, I could have just taken it easier on that wheel. Probably would have stayed on.
It's so fair. Like it was part of me thinking the other day as I was tightening it up. I was like, oh man, yeah, like it's on me. Like if I didn't put this wheel in correctly, like that's a me issue. That's the mechanic not doing his job beforehand. So, you know, it's a similar thing with pit stops and that sort of thing. And I had a rubbish pit stop, right? I was too far right. So I lost about 6 seconds with that.
Trent Lavis has just jumped into the lead. Yeah. He's managed to pull 2 seconds over Sam Muir, and we saw Jordan Malcolm coming out as well, almost getting ahead of Aidan Lufway. So those two drivers that have done the extra lap, it's paid absolute dividends for them. They've made about 2 to 3 seconds on their competitors by doing that.
What's the stop time? Because I would have thought they'd have to take more fuel.
No, well, here's the thing. So Sam Muir came in. He did a 21.1 in the box. Aidan Lufway did a 21.4. Jordan Malcolm did a 17.17, and Trent Lavis did an 18.45.
Yeah, okay.
So Trent Lavis stayed out an extra lap and put in less fuel. So obviously another pit stop to come. And he's banking on the idea of trying to maintain this gap to the end, but that would mean that if the math is mathing, that would mean that Sam Muir would have a shorter pit stop at the end, and Trent would have to have an elongated one. So he's banking on the idea of trying to stay ahead long enough so that the pit stops equalise and they'll come out at the same time.
Not necessarily. Not
I'd say-
necessarily. It depends on if he plans to do. Like, depends how much shorter he's fueled himself. If he's fueled himself 1 lap shorter, they'll pit on the same lap. They could both pit on exactly 40 minutes to go and then have the same amount of fuel to take next time.
Ah, that's smart.
He sort of spent the time that he gained. He spent instead of keeping that 1 lap overlap and turning it into potentially a 2 lap overlap at the final stop, he's cashed in on his overlap now by fueling less and taking 1 lap less fuel is what I would guess. Although that seems like quite a drastic drop in the amount of.
I'd say Trent as well is backing his pace to some extent.
Yes.
He's backing himself to, in fresh air, be able to pull away a little bit without fighting. Now, not that these guys are really fighting in any way, but even you're getting a slipstream. But if you're quick and can pump in laps every time around, it's often better for you not to have the distraction of a car ahead. And at the end of the day, Sam Muir at this point can only go, isn't getting any benefit from a slipstream either. So, we'll see how it pans out. Could go either way here. These next sort of set of pit stops will be interesting for sure.
Yeah, they really will be. We'll have to see if the theory is confirmed. It's just interesting to note as well, just the difference in behaviour of the drivers when we get to one of these longer rounds, because you'll never see them driving like this in a 15-minute sprint race or a 25-minute feature. It only happens when we have the endurers, because the drivers know they have to settle in. They know they can't sprint the whole way. It sounds silly because it's not. Well, it is a physical sport. It's not a particularly physical sport. You can go try and drive all out the whole time, but it's too taxing on the brain. To try and do that, it's too tasky, it's too much risk to take, so everyone has to settle in at sort of 95 to 98% and make sure they get to the end and try and find the zone. Whereas in the sprint or feature race, you can push and treat it more like, the 100 meters where you just go all out, expend everything. This isn't like that. This is settling in for a 5k jog.
Absolutely, and the fuel save is valuable in these cars, right? Like, if you save yourself a few litres, it's noticeable in the pit stop, and you can, if you know what you're doing, you can do it without losing much, if any, time in some cases, because you are so, you're lighter on your tyres, you're more controlled going into the corner. So, like, that aspect plays a big part in how they manage their race from here. This is broken up a bit as well. Muir's got the gap, but while these two fight, Bill Malcolm is not wanting to full 2 bar back from Muir here, now that Luthwaite is just outside of that second threshold. He might be able to get back in it if he's close enough on this straight, but he wouldn't want to fall too much further back than that, and it's going to be hard work catching Sam Muir once you're out of the toe, that's for sure.
Just be curious to see
absolutely.
the lap times when they come across. So last time it was a 34.3, 34.28, 34.39, 34.38. So as they cross, we'll get some updated times come up in that tower. So 34.5 from Trent, 34.4 from Sam, 34.9, 34.8. So yeah, these guys are right there. They're matching pace with each other. But as you said, Sam, it does look like Sam Muir's using the benefit of the clean air in front of him, and Aiden isn't getting that much of a benefit from the draft behind. So the guess would be that Jordan Malcolm will probably fight him in a minute, and then if they're not careful, that'll absolutely break away for Sam, and then we'll have a significant gap between 1 and 2, and then 3 and 4.
Yeah,
Go on, Sam.
I was just going to say, yeah, absolutely. It's not like they're pushing that hard at this point. Like, they're not setting the world on fire for times, right? So you've got, right as you go down the pack into the late teens, you've got 35.5s, 35.8s, that sort of thing. So 34.8s is, that's only a second faster. You often see a bigger gap than that. And I'd say probably max pace around here is below that 34. So they are just settling in. I'll be interested to see which of them are saving fuel. But in the meantime, I'm going to love you and leave you, boys. Have a good rest of your call. I'm going to get some sleep.
All right, have a good one, buddy.
Catch.
Now's a good time to cut out the good job that some of the drivers a little bit further down are having. On your screen, we've got Gary Cousins, who's in the middle of the battle pack for 5th place, which is currently being led by Paul Wood, and that's a relatively recent development. He's up 3 spots from his starting position to lead this pack, 8 seconds behind Jordan Malcolm, but he's got Jeff Adams, Gary Cousins, and Jake Slade right behind him. Then there is another battle pack behind that being led by Dale Sharp in 9th place. He's got Jonathan Hooper, Dane Snadden and Adam Lavis right behind him. Lavis is still in 12th place, we called that out earlier. But look at Dane Snadden ahead of him. He's up 6 spots from 17th into 11th spot. It is on the cusp of making it 10 for potentially even 9 spots and up 8 places, which would be fantastic effort for Snadden. And Lavis was a little bit off that battle pack earlier on, so for him to get himself into that battle pack is really good, and he's got a really good shot coming out here with a top 10 finish. And then behind them, Eduardo Zamora is the biggest mover in the field. He's up 8 spots from 22nd into 14th place, and he's looking to make that 13th as he turns the screws on David Christensen in 13th position. But right now we are on the rear bumper of Gary Cousins, looking at the silver, the white and pink car, cream and pink car of Jake Slade.
Gary Cousins has been really close to Jeff Adams all throughout the second sector here, coming into the final sector now, but can't seem to get the move done. Jake Slade rapid through the first sector. You can see him just closing up the gap. They go through hairpin. Now, when they come onto this main straight, I feel as though Gary should be able to get a move done on Jeff, but maybe the draft from Paul Wood is what's keeping him alive in this, because they've been able to keep positions for like 4 laps now. And so Paul's doing a really good job leading the pack.
Yeah,
I am curious.
I think a lot of drivers are realizing that you don't have to make the move on track, as Sam was alluding to. The fuel save is worth quite a lot, and it's easy to save fuel when you are behind a car ahead. So you can do it behind a car ahead without knowing how to save fuel. You're just going to save fuel because you're not pushing the same gap through the air. If you just decide to stay behind them, you will save fuel, and then you can turn that into a position change when it really matters at the final final stops, and then lead this battle pack to the end if you play your cards right. I just want to call out something Sam said about saving fuel and saving tires, etc., and how saving fuel often saves you a bit of time. It doesn't really cost you that much time because it's easy to keep your tires in because everything's a little bit gentler. It's actually something that slower drivers should really look at building into their skill sets. It's not something just for the most skilled, and the reason I say that is the slower drivers, they tend to be more on the limit, more at their personal limit throughout each corner, and more likely to go over that limit, right? Because they're struggling. You're trying to find time. You know there's more time to find, so you often make mistakes. If you start to save fuel and you learn to save fuel, you're the ones that are going to lose the least time because you're not as close to the fastest time through that corner, right? You've got time to find anyway, and you might find that saving fuel, taking it a bit more gently, helps you actually hit your line more often, helps consistency, and actually might even gain you time because you start taking the corner correctly, because previously you were actually trying to take the corner too fast, put the car too much on the knife edge, and it's costing you time lap after lap. So I really encourage anyone, regardless of your pace, if you're in a series like this where we do have longer races, just give it a go. All you need to do is lift off 50 to 100 meters before your normal braking point, depending on the track and the actual corner. You do it on the longer straights into the bigger stops, and then brake later, or don't brake at all depending on the speed of the corner, but generally brake later, and then try to carry the normal speed through the corner. You may find that not being on the limit of the brake can give you a little bit more time to think, a bit more time to adjust, actually improves your lap time. So I just encourage everyone to go and do that, because it's definitely not something just for the very best.
So interesting. Up at the front, the gaps have slightly increased. Aiden Luthwaite's out past 1 second now. Jordan Malcolm 0.6, but in terms of the cars on screen, they're really holding on here. So Jeff Adams doing a really good job keeping Gary Cousins away. Gary Cousins is caught up significantly through the second sector and up to the last. But then as they come out to here, that Merc, man, those two Mercs at the front are pulling each other along really well. Have a look now. So that's 0.2 for Jeff Adams, 0.3 for Gary Cousins. And Jeff Adams is going to close this gap, and that Porsche is going to drift away. It is actually insane, the straight line speed of these Mercs. But Jeff is still not close enough to actually make the move stick. And so for now, Paul Wood will be able to just enjoy the fifth position. Slade at the back there, don't forget him either in the BMW. He has been trying to make some aggressive moves, but not having enough clearance to do so safely, so he stays in 8th. And it's interesting because although there is fights for the lead, it is the fight for P5 right now that is the hottest on track.
Well, the top 4 cars are running at a very even pace. Samuel is marginally the fastest of those 4 cars across the last few laps, but really those gaps are just staying absolutely stable. I think they're keeping their powder dry until the final stint. I don't think we're going to know where they shake out until they do that final stint. We can see who's kept this pace by saving fuel, who's been gunning it, and then maybe they'll unleash in the final stint. Do not be surprised if that is a grandstand finish, despite the relative calmness now, whereas these 4 drivers, I don't think any of them has any interest in staying behind the other, and they all want to be at the lead of that group. It's just that Paul Wood is doing a fantastic job at making himself very hard for Jeff Adams to overtake, although he's going to be looking in his mirrors as he comes to the final straight because Gary Cousins is right behind him. But isn't able to carry the same speed for that final corner, and he's not going to be able to get himself into a position to effect an overtake into turn 1 like that, although it may come under pressure from Jake Slade behind.
Yeah, so Jake Slade's, it's interesting because we know he's fast, but it seems as though on some laps he overdrives the car slightly and gets squirrely and then drops back and then sort of picks up his pace, gains back up, and then has a slight mistake. I mean, right now they're all matched. You can see that they're all in the 0.3s. So this is really, really good. But yeah, Gary Cousins, man, it's like the Porsche is super nimble, and through the second sector where they've got the most curves, he catches right up there, and then a straight comes, and the Merc's just like, see ya, and then he flies away. So it's really frustrating. It must be really frustrating for him because he can't make the move stick on the straight because the Merc's getting pulled, but he can't make the move stick in twisty bits because the Merc's quite big, and so he just isn't able to put that. My bet is that if he wants to make a move done, he needs to be really, really aggressive coming up through Lukey Heights. And then as they go down, I believe it's called MG, as they go down into that hairpin, the downhill hairpin, he has to make a move like Aiden did earlier on. He has to just dive on the inside and hope that he can just be level, and that Jeff basically okay, he thought about it. He thought about it, but that's what I mean. Like, that's the only way I see him getting past, because when they get to this main straight, he cannot overtake. The car does not have the power, and as long as Jeff has a draft, it will not be on. Now, in terms of Slade, I don't know. I've got nothing for that. He seems like he is always in a position to attack, but then, like, it just drops off. I haven't seen any part of the track that is perfect for him to overtake. If I had to pick one, I'd say it's probably going into which I think it's Siberia turn. I want to say, I think it's turn 4, the hairpin.
Yep.
That's the only one I can see. Maybe a dive up on the inside, but the problem is he has to keep the speed around here, and sometimes he drifts off quite wide. He's actually very, very close right now. I wonder if he'll prove me right.
He may very well do. We got on board with him right now. He's going to look to the inside. He has a look. No, pulls back in behind.
It's smart.
So
it's smart. It's smart.
It certainly is smart. And we won't have to wait long to find out just how smart it is, because the second round of pit stops will be very soon, and then it'll be straight fighting until the end of the race. Just in that battle for the final spots on the top 10, it looks like Eduardo Zamora has pitted early, trying to undercut those other drivers he was battling, including Adam Lavis, Jonathan Hooper, and Dane Snadden, who's still at the lead of that battle. Although they have, also Dale Sharp, sorry, is at the lead of that battle, and you can actually see them coming into the shot behind you. And there's the move. No, there's the defensive move. Apologies, from Gary Cousins, defending from Jake Slade.
Yes, Gary Cousins on that lap was not as close as he has been to Jeff Adams on the previous ones. Now, it's interesting that he stayed where he was. I'm not sure if he did that because of habit or if he thought that Jake Slade was going to try and cut him on the inside. It ended up allowing Jake Slade to try an outside move, and finally we see Jeff Adams sneak out. Never mind, I yelled way too prematurely. I thought he was going to go for the move. He did not. He just wanted to see if there was any room on that inside line. So again, the Mercs just pulling away. The Porsche then has to try and remake it all in the second sector. Actually, Jeff is he's a lot closer than he has been on some of the previous laps. I wonder if he'll dive on the inside. It's risky, but if you get the brake marker right, you can make it work. Nope. No, they're playing it sensible. I have to agree. You don't really want to throw things away right now, do you? So, there's plenty of race to go. But what this battle is doing is kind of proving me wrong, because I did say that you tend not to see processional races in GT class, but that's exactly what we have, at least for now.
Yeah, it certainly is what we have now, but we have seen this in the GT4 class in those longer style races. They do tend to be sensible throughout the middle and then lose their heads a bit at the end. So hopefully that's what happens this time. Let's move. Jake Slide, ambitious down the inside, gets the car stopped. Beautiful.
That's it. That's it. That's the place. That's where you can do it. You analyze the driver ahead of you, lap after lap. You figure out where they're braking, and if you've got the confidence to make it work, and we see them now. So Jake Slade made the move, but it looks like Gary Cousins and Jeff Adams decided to pit early. So Paul Wood, Jake Slade out, and Jeff Adams, Gary Cousins in. Looking at the front, Trent Lavis came in.
Yeah, looking at the front, Lavis and Malcolm have both come in. You'll recognise those names because those are the ones that had the shorter pit stop. They had the shorter pit stop last time around, and we wondered whether that would mean they'd pit before their competitors on this time around, or whether they'd pit on the same lap. Looks like they've had to pit before their competitors. So it'll be interesting to see just how much further Samuel and Liveweight can go, whether it'll be one lap or whether they might be able to stretch it out to two. And then what that does, because we saw the cars that pitted early last time lose out to those that pitted a bit later. And now we're going to see the same effect because Miro and Liveweight aren't going to have to put in as much fuel as Malcolm and Lavis did.
Yeah, so
both of them stopped for about 20 seconds.
Yeah, Trent Lavis, yeah, exactly, 20.18. Samuel also did the fastest lap of his race. That last one, 134.15. So he is absolutely cooking it right now. He'll be coming up to the pits. I'd assume he'd come in now. I don't think he'll stay out for an extra one. Let's see. Yes, he's coming in. Perfect. And I would assume Aiden Luthwaite will follow him. Yep.
So it does.
So the question will be, if we go back to Trent Lavis, where does he come out on track after these pit stops resolve?
So there is a shadow battle going on right now. It is Lavis versus the ghost of Muir and Luthwaite's in laps. We'll have to wait and see how that battle plays out. Samuel is stopped in his box now, and Luthwaite follows close behind them. They'll be stopped for about 18 seconds, I would believe, given the pit stop times from last time around. We'll have to wait and see. That means Samuel's got about 5 seconds left of fuel to take on board. Yes, 18.73 seconds, and Aiden Luthwaite behind him stops a little bit longer, way too long. Is Luthwaite taking tyres? Because he's been stopped for 20.
Here we go! Here we go! Trent Lavis! Oh, wow! The speed!
I believe Luthwaite has got a penalty on pit entry. I just saw it as we cut away from him. He got the car really unsettled on pit entry, and now he's been stopped for 45 seconds. So that's not a fuel miscalculation. That's not tyres. That is a... I'd put money on that being speeding in the pit lane. We're turning this into a two-horse race at the front between Lavis and Muir, with Malcolm at 4.2 seconds behind.
Oh, hold on a minute. We want this one here. Oh no! Well, that explains why he got the penalty. And is that his steering broken?
Yeah, that's his steering broken. So that'll be Luthwaite out of the race.
No, I think they get a fast repair, do they not?
They get a fast repair?
I don't know.
He's definitely got he's got a penalty as well for speeding into pit
yeah,
lane.
that's
so
right. Yeah. And he
lane.
also entered off outside the markers. So even if he had brought the speed down, he still would have got a penalty for that.
he's made the iRacing gods very, very angry with that pit entry in front and thrown away what would have certainly been a podium finish. Just getting a wrong pit entry. That's really unfortunate for the way it's so easy to do. It is a narrow pit entry. It's just one of those small things that makes a big difference to your race. And he's come off worse of that, but he'll come back next season, and I'm sure he'll be troubling the top of this category once again. But right at the top of this category this season has been Samuel time and time again. He's got Lavis ahead of them, only 3/4 of a second between them, and we now know this is a straight fight until the end. 15 minutes left. Show us your ultimate pace, lads.
Yes, as we see the next couple of lap times come through, if we just take it on face value, so Samuel will now have the benefit of a draft. Trent Lavis will not. So obviously Samuel did not have that the last time they were out before the pit stops resolved. So that will mean that Samuel will have a benefit for the majority of the first sector and just the end of the last, going down that main straight, if he can maintain the gap between himself and Trent Lavis ahead. But the Aston Martin seems really, really nimble. And so I wonder if he'll be able to eke away any time that Samuel can reel in those hot zones. So we'll see as they cross the line now. They've had a pretty clean lap, both of them. Trent Lavis has also got a back marker in front of him, which may have that. You can see a little bit of dust spurting up to the air. Trent Lavis just went a little bit sideways and caught the exit. So I'm curious to see what the lap times will be when they cross the line. Trent will probably have a draft from that Merc, if I'd say. I'm going to assume it's in the 34.0 fastest lap of the race. Samuel with the 34.19. So yeah, they're going to be matching pace here. Trent Lavis, of course, getting helped by that back marker. That is Kelvin Little there in P20. But we have, 15 minutes to go on the clock, if I'm reading that right. So
it certainly is.
Yeah, it'll definitely be a race between these two to the end.
It certainly will be, and there's a good race going on. 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th as well. They're within 1.5 seconds, the whole group. And then that group battling for the back of the top 10 has spaced out a little bit. There's a gap now between Snadden and Sharp, 1.2 seconds, and then it's Hooper and Lavis in 11th place. We talked about the job that Eduardo Zamora was doing, and he's actually ruined the point I was about to make by pitting a bit prematurely. I was about to say he's pitted twice, but he was only stationary in the pit for 11 seconds. Which was never going to get him to the end. So he's made a mistake somewhere, and he's going to go from being the driver with the most positions gained up 9 spots. He's now only up 3 and going to be under pressure from Neil Gladwin for 17 spots. And Nick Ferdiadis' race has come. Eduardo Zamora's race has come and done now. He's down to 16th place, just ahead of Neil Gladwin, and he's now only up 6 spots, but was looking at troubling the top 10 a little bit earlier on, so he's made an extra stop compared to everybody else, as has Nick Ferdiadis, which is why I got the two mixed up a little bit there. So not sure what happened. If they do join us a bit afterwards, we'll be sure to ask them. But yeah, close battle on track is Slade versus Wood versus Cousins for 5th, 6th and 7th, and then the next closest is Lavis versus Muir for the lead of the race and the glory of taking the final victory in this season's GT4 Championship. GT4s will return next season in the same time slot.
So this lap here will give us a really good indication as to the time lost. Draft versus no draft. Trent, of course, by himself out in front now. The nearest back marker to him, if I'm reading the map correctly, is quite a significant distance away, so this will not come into effect. Sam Muir doing a really good job through twisty bits, keeping that 5/10 mark. Had a pretty fast lap the last time by. It was actually matched his best time of a previous lap, 1:34.15. And I can only imagine he's fully focused now. We're in the last third of the race. And I'm just very curious to see what these lap times are going to be like. Because Trent's doing a really good job out in front. But again, if Sam Muir could just keep this draft here, he'll get an advantage down the main straight. The only problem is then he has to hold the lead. So this could turn into a game of leapfrog.
Yeah, so that we could. I'd be interested to see what Samuel does in regards to that, because he may feel like he's better off just holding on, just staying there behind Lavis, half a second behind, and then make one decisive attack in the last 2 or 3 laps. If he's confident that he has got the pace and he knows where to make that move. I imagine if he's feeling less confident, he'll jump on any opportunity that comes towards him. So it'll be really interesting to see how he plays that. And in that other battle, Paul Wood's just got ahead of Jake Slade for 5th spot. The two of them will continue to battle it out, and then they've got Gary Cousins right behind them in 7th place. Just hear the revs go up there. He had a little bit of a tyre slip there. Let's try to get on throttle, and the hairpin, you saw him just straighten the steering a little bit, and then get back on throttle. But you could hear it more than you could see it in the visuals.
This lap, Sam's actually been a lot closer than in previous ones. I wonder if Trent maybe just not taking the same line. But as they come down here, you'll see just how much he can win under braking here. That Porsche seems to be really good under brakes. And then as long as he can keep it underneath that 5/10 mark, he's floating. You will see, we'll stay on board with a bumper shot here, but you will see that Porsche get bigger and bigger as they come down the main straight. The problem is, it's not enough to make an overtake. It's just enough to bring the gap back. So you see him get closer now. Actually, he hasn't gained a single. That's really interesting.
Not even 100th. Wasn't even 100th of a second that he gained.
Oh, but then there's this. So I don't know what happened there. So the Aston seems to have really good straight line speed, but through that corner, the Porsche.
I think you could hear it. Lavis went a little bit wide through that corner. You could hear it. There was too much tyre slip in through there. You could hear the screeching. So I think he went a little bit wide in that corner, and that's what allowed Samuel to catch up. I don't think it was an inherent car characteristic that time round.
I mean, he's right there. He's right there, so that we know the Porsche is nimble, as we saw with Gary Cousins.
What we might see as well is if there's been any difference in how they've been able to manage the tyres throughout the race, because you will get a little bit of tyre wear at this point. You will get enough tyre wear that you will feel it, and there could be a difference in tyre wear between these two vehicles.
Man, you can tell. You can just tell Samuel is pushing this car. He's actually giving it everything right now. This is awesome to watch. Trent Lavis is doing a really good job out in front, but that gap is smaller again. The gap is smaller again. He's managed to make a 10th now. Sam Muir. Curious. I feel like the draft should be strong, but I mean, he really doesn't gain that much.
It's not like it's hitting the rev limiter or anything. It just sounds like the engine doesn't have the grunt at the top end, does it?
Yeah.
Just doesn't accelerate the same way.
But he definitely has the advantage in the corners. There is no doubt about that. The car is way more nimble in the corners, and maybe that's the key to victory here. We are less than 10 minutes away from the end of this race. It is a very clear battle between first and second. Sam Muir maybe trying to get a little bit more brave into some of these corners, but he's got to be careful. One lockup and you are done. But that's great. Look at that. Down to .2. So Sam Muir is finding time in these corners lap after lap. Trent Lavis will obviously be looking in those side mirrors trying to understand why that Porsche seems bigger every time. But then once they hit that main straight, yeah, the Porsche doesn't get the advantage as much as I thought it would. So we'll see if Trent can keep it together till the end. Or maybe this is all one big giant ploy from Sam Muir to bait Trent Lavis into not turning it up. And then Sam Muir just absolutely wicks it right at the end.
Yeah, quite possibly. No, I don't have your straight line speed. I'm not a threat into the corner. Don't worry about me. Final lap. No, I think what you're seeing might be, and this will show you, I'm not sure. The Porsche definitely got better mid-corner speed and better entry speed, but I'm not sure it's got the traction out of the corners of the Aston Martin. It looks like the Aston Martin's just seeing a little bit of a march each time on the Porsche, and even on the timings you can see it gains just a couple of hundredths out of the corners, but I think it's enough that it's sort of negating the draft a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised if that's I might be off base, but that could be part of the equation of what we're seeing. It's certainly mid-corner. I mean, look at it.
Yeah.
Look at it.
Yeah, the Porsche is just so good in the corner.
Able to take tighter lines and maintain the same pace as the car ahead. Looks like he can just pick what bit of tarmac he wants to be on, and then that's where he is. Whereas the Aston Martin looks like it's on the verge of going off the track.
I do feel bad for everyone else on the grid.
Dane Snadden has just crashed out of 5th or 6th place. He's now in pit lane.
Yeah, I do feel bad for everyone else in the grid because I can't switch off the battle. It's not only is it the closest, but it's for the lead.
Oh.
And Sam Muir, man, he is like, man, he's driving the pants off this thing in the second sector, like absolutely. And then he gets to this 3/10 mark, right? Look, this is the closest he's been. This is the closest he's been. Oh, here we go. Here we go. John Simpson, big old asset, donk doing the business on the straights. Oh, well. Now we'll see if the draft, we'll see if it's more effective. Here we go.
See, he's just able to carry a bit more speed out of the corner, the traction. But this time,
Come on.
No, come on.
It just goes away.
Oh, this will be so frustrating for Sam.
It's insane. Sam must be like shaking the wheel. I mean, okay, he has to do it in the corners. He has to. So I'm going to say it again. It's going to be MG. He's going to get close enough up to Lukey Heights, dive on the inside, try and make the move. The only problem is we know the Aston is faster on the straights. So how the hell do you defend the last couple of laps?
I think he's got to do it into this hairpin, through this hairpin complex, so he can try and gain enough speed through Lukey Heights down the hill into the final corner to give himself a bit of a gap to defend from the toe. I think he's got to do it early in the lap, use the rest of the lap to build a gap and just hope that's enough to hold him off. I think if he overtakes him where you were suggesting at the bottom of at the penultimate corner, I don't know if he's going to be able to hold it down the run to start finish line. I think you're right in that it's going to be the easiest overtaking opportunity, but I think if he does it there, he's at risk of losing it straight back. Yeah,
that's the issue with the finish line. It's so far down that straight. John Clarkson there with his favourite catchphrase there. And I mean, yeah, that'll get you out of most trouble. Unless, of course, you're playing SnowRunner, in which case you'll get into all the trouble.
You will get into all the trouble, that is correct. But if any of you are MotoGP fans, it's like watching last season.
Who are you flashing the lights to, my guy?
To us, obviously.
Oh, maybe he is. Hello, Trent.
Hello, Trent. It's like watching the Aprilia versus the Ducatis, right? Or well, any bike versus the Ducatis, really. Last season, just they attack them and then they overtake them, and then on the straight finish line, the Ducatis would just power straight back through, or they'd get right close behind them. Not like they got a run, and the Ducati power would just pull them away. That's what we're seeing here with the Aston Martin. Can't be in. I think you're right. I think it's can't be in.
Us on a track like this, yeah. But then you see the Porsche do this in the corners, man. Like the Aston Martin, it comes out and it's like it wants to kick the rear. It's like the tires are like, you know, hey, that way looks really good to me. And the Porsche is pointed, which is hilarious because Sam Chapman swears that it isn't. He was not having fun. But look at this, see? 0.13, look at the gap. Now, if Sam can maintain the speed, I'm telling you, the inside shot is the best. Now he's a little bit too far. Look at that, Trent, cutting it off. He's allowed to do that. Stay in the middle of the track. Cut the advance completely. The problem is, then you're too close to the corner, you don't get as much of an exit. But then, we know that the Aston's faster on the straight, so maybe it's really not that much of a sacrifice.
No, he's doing the right thing there. Compromise Samuel through see how he compromised him through the hairpin at the bottom of the hill. Stopped Muir being able to use that extra momentum he got after Lavis went defensive, and just knew that, like, it doesn't matter how close you are to me, I'm going to pull away from you on the straight. And Muir's only got 2 more laps to figure out how the hell he's going to get past.
It's the corners.
Including this one.
It's the corners. It has to be the corners. Dan Muir has driven an amazing race. Trent Lavis the same. 60 minutes, and it's all boiling down to the last lap and a half. And you can tell You can tell Sam is pushing everything right now. He is in full focus mode. Unfortunately, not a championship fight. We know Sam Muir's going to take it, but still, Sam knows he's comfortable, but still, he wants to win. And who doesn't? You know, if you no longer go for the win.
Yeah, he doesn't want to come into the commentary box afterwards, have to talk about how he finished second in the race and then talk about winning the championship.
Yes,
he wants to talk about how he dominated the race and then won the championship.
Yeah, no, more than he is Prost.
I love that that's the metric that we measure race drivers
Everybody that's
by.
a racing fan knows exactly what I meant then.
Yeah,
Everybody knows.
everyone knows.
Prost was the professor, calculated. If I have to finish second and win, I finish second and win. Senna was like first or bust. Then she's correct. Send it for the fans, and I tend to agree. We're on 59 of 22 as we approach the line. I think they'll cross the line, and we will still have one lap to go. I'm not too sure. Barney's not waving. Yes, there's the white flag. We have one lap left in this GT4 final. Sam Muir is right there. But we know that the Aston has the legs on the straights. Can he find that extra 2/10 in this last lap, or will Trent Lavis have it? Let's go.
Needs a good run here through Southern Loop to set himself up for the hairpin. I think that's going to be his best opportunity of getting the overtake done and holding on to it. Doesn't get a good enough run. He's not going to be set up for the hairpin. It's going to be one hell of a dive bomb if he goes for it here. I think you're right. You're right. He's going to have to wait until Lukey heights to make his move. Should I go for the inside? No, size is way too far away. Can he perhaps launch a sneaky one into the second hairpin? Oh, there's a wobble there from Lavis. He's going to invite the attack.
And
no,
there's a back marker.
inside.
I don't know if the back marker will be significant enough. So Trent will be in full focus right now. So will Sam. Sam will know that this is the key. Right now, he's got to try and be as close as possible. If there's a time to make the move into this corner, it's going to be now. He's a little too far back there. He could do a mad lunge. It would be really dramatic. No, he chooses not to. Oh, God.
And Trent Lavis holds him up on the apex. Holds him up on the apex again. Stops him getting the good run out. This should be job done for Lavis if it's anything like the previous attacks we have seen, or has he been like you suggested with your conspiracy theory, just holding back, making it seem like just so it's left nothing out there, has he? Left nothing out there. They both flash the lights. Trent Lavis takes it ahead of Samuel, but Samuel is your GT4 champion of Season B, and Jordan Malcolm will finish in a distant third position. They just call out on the final lap there. Jeff Adams had to pit for fuel and took himself out of the running for the top 10. So it will be Paul Wood that finishes in 4th. Jake Slade in 5th. Gary Cousins in 6th. Dale Sharp in 7th. Adam Lavis finishes 8th in the end. Up 7 spots. Fantastic result for him. John Hooper in 9th. David Christensen in 10th spot.
So for anyone,
outside the top 10.
Yep. So for anyone who was wondering if Sam was holding back at all, here is the onboard. Watch that steering wheel and listen to the engine. Sam was like, last lap, don't care. Look at this. Pinned it. Oh, I'm drifting off the track, don't matter. Pin it! Absolutely everything then. And unfortunately, couldn't get it to the line.
That is proof you do not need overtaking to have a good race.
That's very true. Yeah, that's very true. When you have close racing like that, everybody wins. And you know that both of them are getting tested too. Sam was putting everything into that, but Trent, as you mentioned before, Trent has to put effort into those defensive moves. He has to put the car in a place where that prevents Sam from making crazy lunges. So it's a fantastic race from both of them, and from Jordan Malcolm. Let's not forget, Jordan Malcolm had a couple of mess-ups early on, still managed to come back P3. Obviously, Aiden Luthwaite had that issue going into the pit lane, but still, back to P3.
Yeah, really strong result from Jordan Malcolm, and for 1-9 taking 2 of the 3 spots on the podium. Just, yeah, the wrong car. Really, the Porsche for this track, just losing out too much on the straights. It was probably, I mean, overall pace-wise, they proved that they're incredibly similar. Just didn't have the race ability of the Aston Martin, and Trent Lavis used that to fantastic effect to take the win there with Sam Mura in second, and Jordan Malcolm in third, and then just running through the rest of the results, we've got Paul Wood in fourth, Jake Slade in fifth, Gary Cousins in sixth, Dale Sharp in seventh, Lavis in ninth, Hooper in 10th, Christensen in 11th. Then behind them, Jonathan Wong in 11th, Neil De Bruyne in 12th, Brett Bradbury in 13th, and up 8 spots from his starting position, so good result for him. Same with Eduardo Zamora, he's also up 8 spots. Then it's Neil Gladwin, Nick Fodiardis, Greg Heaney, and Calvin Little both up 6, and they'll be fairly pleased with 17th and 18th based on their qualifying positions. And we're now being joined by some of the drivers. I'll cut to you, Jake, first, as you were first in. So first in, first interviewed. A strong race for yourself. Qualified in 7th, up to 5th in a good battle there with Cousins, Wood, and with a few other interlopers in there at various points. How did you enjoy that race?
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. The race between me and Cousins, Jeff, and Woodsy was intense for nearly the whole race. Bit of pressure back and forth from the boys, so it was really good fun, nice and clean, respectful racing, which was also nice.
Yeah, there was really good racing throughout the field. Very few incidents, or almost none to speak of, which speaks to the quality of the races that we've got out there. Did you think were there any opportunities to get past Paul Wood that, looking back at, you're thinking, oh, I wish I'd gone for it, or did Paul Wood have you covered?
There was a few spots I tried to sort of show the car and make him a little bit nervous, which is pretty hard to do. But yeah, just tried to show the car a bit and sort of read what he was going to do, and if I could, dive under brakes into the hairpin or whatever. But he covered the inside line pretty well. He made that Mercedes quite wide. But no, it was good. I didn't have a setup. I was running on a the sprint open setup. So I was probably lacking a little bit of pace there, but no, all in all, had a lot of fun for what it was.
How did you find the straight line speed of the BMW compared to the Merc? And I asked that because we've watched Lavis and Muir doing battle for a lot of the race, and that the power of the Aston Martin was just too much. So I'm just curious as to how the Merc and BMW compared.
Yeah, it all really depended on your run out of the last corner, obviously, because that's a really crucial if you can stay it wide open if you hit the right line. Otherwise, you've got to slightly lift mid-corner. But if you can hold it flat, I don't think there was too much in it, really. I mean, having the draft helps and obviously pulls you into him, but I think side by side, the Merc might just have the edge, but it wouldn't be much.
Yeah, excellent. And just talk about your season overall. Are you happy with how your season went?
I didn't get to do a great deal of GT4, so I just jumped in for the last few, just to have a bit of fun. I enjoyed driving these in the officials, so I thought I'd just show my face and get the sponsors on the car and just get out there and have some fun. Yeah, I think it's maybe something I'll do in the future, but time will tell. I'm definitely keen on doing supercars and Porsche next season, so we'll see how tight my hands are there, and yeah, go from there.
Well, excellent. It's great to hear that you'll be back next season on a Monday night and a Thursday night for Supercars and Porsche Cup. Good luck with that, and we'll see you there.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
And now we'll move on over to Trent Lavis. Sam, we'll come to you last as the champion, so we'll round out the show with your thoughts. Trent, can you just talk us through that race-long battle that you had with Sam and how it unfolded?
Actually, before you answer that, I have one quick question.
Oh, go for it.
Yes.
Was the flashing for us?
Yeah.
Thank you. That's it. That's good. We can continue.
Yeah, no, then I made a big mistake that lap. Sam caught up to me. I threw myself down the road. But yeah, no, it was good. Great race. Obviously had a good result there. What I did at the first stint there, poor Jordo got a bit of the hip and shoulder there on the hairpin in the first lap, which slithered a few people through, which slowed him up. But then I just sort of realised about 3 or 4 laps in, I had some good pace in race pace. So I just sort of settled down and saved bulk fuel in that full first stint, and short fueled the middle stop to get track position, and just held track position essentially, knowing that I'd have a quick stop at the end as well. So yeah, no, awesome race. Sam had the pace on me, I think. I don't know if I was dragging around too much, but if I made too much of a mistake, he would have had me for sure.
Yeah, did you, before you made that early stop, short fuel and prioritised track position, did you know that the Aston Martin had the straight line speed that we saw evident in your battle with Samuel?
No, because it was sketchy as heck to drive because it got no wing in it, so it was terrifying to drive. Like, you know, coming out of Southern Loop there, I'm like 40% throttle until the thing's relatively square, and even then it's like trying to blaze them up coming out of the corner, so you just gotta baby it around, and it made it a good race car because even in the tow here, like behind Aiden, out of the last corner I could hold it pinned, so the car was super settled through that last turn, which I think gave me the bit of advantage to defend if I needed to.
That makes so much sense. So me and Liam were going back and forth, and I kept mentioning that down the straight, Sam was not catching as much as I thought he should be. Sam was absolutely decimating in the corners, and it makes sense because you took the wing out of it. I don't know how I didn't think of that.
It's actually a setup from like 5-6 seasons ago, which fortunately enough didn't put any red flags up, so I just threw it in the car, jumped in practice, did about 15 laps or something like that, and chucked it in Quali, and couldn't quite get a lap together in Quali, and I didn't tweak the setup at all. I just left it as it was and just tried to drive around it, you know. I haven't actually been in the sim for quite a while, except for SRX on Friday, a quick cameo, but I haven't been in the sim for nearly a month, so it's good fun to get back in my beloved Aston and have a run with the boys.
Are you hoping to get back into the sim a bit more next season?
Oh, I've been doing pretty regularly on a Monday night with another series, but just Wednesdays I've been training for real world duties, which is actually next weekend. I'm racing at the 2 Days of Thunder at QR in the production car series, so endurance racing in Little Toter 86, so it should be good fun.
That makes me very jealous. That does sound like excellent fun. And how is that going for you, real world racing?
Yeah, hopefully we'll go good. So my mate Nick Windsor, Duke Racing and Lobesy Racing collab. So we're set to have a pretty good one, I think, because we've both got pretty good pace in the car. And yeah, hopefully we give a run for the money. Quick in our pit stops, all that sort of stuff. We've already practiced, and yeah, going for class honours. Not outright, obviously, because it's a Class D car, but definitely it'll be a pretty tough class battle. That'll be in for the winner.
Yeah, excellent. Really glad to hear that. And I think real world racing is probably the best excuse not to be doing more sim racing. I think most people would make that choice.
The sim does keep you sharp though, like just for the racecrafty stuff. So defending and attacking and stuff like that. It's definitely very good just to keep your reflexes on tune.
And it's great fun as well.
Hands down.
All right, well, excellent. Best of luck with your real world racing and your sim racing endeavours, and we'll speak to you again at some point next season, I'm sure.
Yeah, thanks, mate. And also, massive congrats to Sam for taking out the championship, mate. It was a good effort, mate. You had the pace all season, all the boys, so well done.
Cheers, Trent. Appreciate it.
Okay, well, we'll cut now to Sam's teammate, Jordan Malcolm. Jordan, fairly lonely third place in the end after Luthwaite made that really big mistake going into the pit lane. Can you just talk us through your race from your perspective?
In that first stint, probably drove like a muppet a bit. Lost the brake in here into MG, so the rear of the car just stepped into Aiden's car, so that was a bit unfortunate there, and then just had a tiny mistake later in that stint. But then just tried to play the reverse strategy, just taking that short stop early, maxing the fuel on that last stop. Again, trying to buy a track position so that first group of cars can just tow me away from that pack I was in. And then at the same time just be a general pest to Aiden and let Sam focus on catching Trent up front. It was a good battle to watch, but as soon as I lost the draft in the end, that final stint, just had no pace to go with the front two boys. They were mega fast.
Yeah, you cut off on the next question was going to be, which was without the troubles you mentioned in the first stint, whether you felt like you could have gone with Lamus and Muir, but it sounds like they just had that little edge of pace on you. Do you have a suspicion where that came from?
Yeah, the car probably felt too stable, so probably I needed to take the wing out of it, I think. So yeah, it just plowed through all the corners, so just loosening it up a bit would have probably been a good decision, and it would have obviously helped the straight line speed as well. So that's probably where a lot of the time was, but ultimately I just didn't have the bulk pace in the end. I don't think taking the wing out was going to cost me like 3 tenths a lap. Like, that's more a driver thing.
Yeah, fair enough. And we've seen you dipping in and out of this series throughout the season, sort of 3, 4, 5 maybe appearances throughout the season. Is that due to just lack of availability on Wednesday nights? Is that something that we're going to change next season? Or is this just we're going to see you in and out when you can for next season?
Yeah, just looking at it, it just depends on work and everything. I think the next time I don't really clash with work is not until mid-August, so I'll try and compete as much of next season as I can. I love the GT4 racing. It just, when it's a bit selective like this, you kind of tend to go to cars and tracks that you like, so that was probably why I was a bit selective this season.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Where are we going to see you next?
Probably not until next season, probably round 1 GT4 again. We might give GT3s a whirl, but yeah, probably that's us done for the season, and yeah, on to next season.
And any words for your teammate who's taken on the championship?
Yeah, Sam did a mega job all season. He obviously had the pace and everyone, so yeah, mega job Sam, and glad we also brought the team's championship home together as well, I believe so.
Do we have the team championship, Daniel?
I'm not too sure, but let me have a look. Yeah.
See if we can confirm that before I let you go and talk to Sam, so we can discuss whether he's going to be a double champion or a single.
Of course, this would be the one time it doesn't work. Here we go. So, I believe Adam Lavis is doing the numbers now, but 19 had. Yeah, I think so, by a decent margin. If what I'm looking at is correct, it looks at about 700 plus points there between the both of you. So yeah, I think you've got that in the bag.
Yeah, so we'll say a congratulations with carry out. The calculations haven't done yet, so yeah, well done, and well done on your championship, Jordan, the team championship, that is.
Yeah, awesome, thank you. Couldn't have done it without Sam carrying me.
Yeah, but yeah, I think that's just accurate this time. that's not just a phrase, that is accurate. So yeah, congratulations. And we'll cut over now to Sam. Congratulations, mate, on taking home the championship. I'm sure you would have loved to put the exclamation mark on the championship with a victory here today. Fair to say you did everything you could behind Trent, but you just couldn't find a way to eke that Porsche past the Aston ahead.
Yeah, cheers guys. Yeah, definitely would have been nice to finish it off with a win, especially, you know, given that Trent, I think, was the previous champion from last season, so it would have been nice to actually, yeah, take the number 1 off his door. But well done to him. It was an awesome race. Yeah, as the guys were talking about before, yeah, the Aston was just too quick in a straight line. I probably needed some George needed to take a little bit of a wing out of it, just to get a little bit more pace on the straight. But that was an awesome one there towards the end. Really enjoyed it.
It was incredible. Sorry, you could Daniel.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to ask. So, in those last couple of laps, in those last 3 to 4 laps, how much focus did you have in that car? Because obviously the animation of the driver is predetermined. Right? We're not seeing a live reaction from you, but even so, just with the way that I saw you maneuvering the car and getting a little more brave into some of those sharper corners, it came through in your driving that you were like gripping that wheel.
Yeah, it certainly was. We knew we had the championship in the bag at that point. Trent, yeah, wasn't in championship contention, so I was like, even if I go for a move and I stuff it up, it's not the end of the world. So if I've got a chance to send it, then I will. But yeah, just couldn't quite get close enough. But yeah, I was just trying to see where he was strong, where I was weak, and just trying to force an opportunity in there. Sort of had half an opportunity there on that last lap, but Trent blocked it off, which was obviously fair play, and yeah, had to settle for second in the end.
Yeah, we did absolutely everything you could. It was fantastic to watch, looking at your little Porsche sort of dying all over the track. It looked like you could basically pick what bit of tarmac you were going to be on and be there, whereas the Aston was nailed into its lines, and it was interesting watching you trying to figure out how you were going to do it, and a couple of times you sort of popped out like, oh, we're going to make a move. No, I'm not quite close enough. It must have been so frustrating.
Yeah, it certainly was. Getting very, very frustrating. I was just like, yeah, I just need a little bit more straight so I can get a little bit of draft and yeah, close that gap just a little bit more. But yeah, just couldn't get there in the end. And yeah, you're right. I was just trying to do everything that I could there just to sort of show the nose here and there in different spots and try and catch Trent off guard. I think we both made plenty of little mistakes there in the last 3 or 4 laps, just pushing each other right to the very end. But credit to him. He's tough nut to crack, and hopefully one of these days I'll actually get a race win over him, but we'll wait and see.
No, it came through. It definitely came through on the screen. I could tell, again, on those last handful of laps that you were giving it absolutely everything. I mentioned on the broadcast, I might have even got a little bit too loud at times, because the way that you were coming in through the second sector was like, you just decimated him in the corners. There was absolutely no comparison. The car was way more pointed, and you had it way more, just much more speed through there. And I said that the way it looked, based on the speed of the Aston on the straight, the only place you could get him was MG. I thought that was the only place you'd have to try and get really close up through Lukey Heights and then just dive on that inside. And sure enough, the one lap that you had him, the one lap that you were close enough to do that, he parked his damn car in the middle of the track. And I went, yep, that's about right.
Yeah, me too. I was just like, oh, finally, here we go. We got the chance. If he leaves the door open, we're having a crack. But yeah, sure enough, he went to the right-hand side. And then, yeah, we tried to hang it around the left there. But yeah, it was never going to happen. So glad we were able to at least put on a good show for the last race of the season. And yeah, hopefully Trent can, and the rest of the boys can show out next season and we can go head-to-head again.
Yeah, that'd be absolutely spectacular. I'd certainly like to say that. And just talk about your season as a whole now. Evidently, the runaway champion, which is absolutely fantastic, won the most dominant championships of this season, I believe, in actuality. How did you build such a strong championship?
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know about the dominant term. When I think about that in this championship, I think of Matty Densham just winning literally every single race, week in, week out. I think we only had 2 race wins for this season, so it was just built on a whole heap of consistency and really strong results. I think our worst race result was a 4th, so we're always there or thereabout, but it probably speaks to the quality of the races in the GT4s that we have coming in and out of this series. You know, obviously Trent Lavis tonight, teammate Geordie Malcolm, John Merritt had plenty of wins this year. Luke Turner was dominating the championship early on as well, and yeah, I'm probably fortunate in the sense that those guys didn't compete in enough rounds to be serious contenders at the end there, because I think the points gap to point 2 was P2 certainly flattered me, and yeah, that's no criticism or to take nothing away from, I think it was Gary who finished P2. Massive congrats to him on a super consistent season, because yeah, that's what you got to do in these sorts of championships. You got to show up and be there to be in contention, so massive congrats to him. But yeah, hopefully we can get those faster boys in the championship back for next season, week in, week out, and go head to head. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that would be excellent. I think what you said is sort of borne out by the fact that you managed to take a runaway championship victory, but only 3 wins in the season?
Yeah, 2 or 3.
Yeah, so it wasn't like you were winning week in, week out, which is what we normally see when somebody wins, by triple figures. Instead, it was relentless consistency. Like I said, no result worse than 4th, and a roster of people that were finishing ahead of you rather than someone else finishing either ahead or just behind you consistently. So, I mean, it's a credit to yourself that you stuck with it and were so relentlessly consistent, because everybody else had the opportunity and they weren't able to do it. So,
yeah. Cheers. Definitely. You know, there's always an element of luck in these sorts of things as well. You know, especially with reverse grid races and that sort of thing this season, it can go pretty pear-shaped pretty quickly through no fault of your own. So, yeah, we certainly had our fair share of luck throughout the season, which helped as well.
Yeah, you always need a bit of luck, but you also make your own luck and put yourself in the right positions to capitalise when the luck did go your way. Look, congratulations on your title. Go away and celebrate however you wish to do so, and best of luck for any racing you do from now until next season, and looking forward to watching you try to defend your title next season.
yeah, cheers guys, really looking forward to it. Shout out to you guys, and a massive thanks for putting on the broadcast each week, and for race control and the guys who look after the club from an admin perspective. You know, it's one of the best clubs in Australia. It's why I keep coming back each season. So yeah, massive thanks to you guys and for all the sponsors for supporting the club. Really looking forward to next season, and also massive thanks to Geordie Malcolm. And congrats to us for the team's championship as well. Cheers.
Yeah, well said. Well said. And we'll wrap up the broadcast by having a chat to Paul Wood. Paul, you finished in 4th spot, leading quite a tight group for most of the race. How much pressure did you feel under leading them by such a small margin for so long?
For me, I actually felt quite comfortable there. The car was doing what I wanted. I never really felt at any point I was in a lot of danger. So I was only driving at probably 95% for the majority of the race, just making sure I kept the car straight and clean, because it was a very loose setup that I had. So I knew if I pushed a little bit too hard, it was going to be hard to hold on to the back end. But overall, yeah, pretty straightforward race. I was trying hard at the end to catch Jeff Adams, and just when I thought I was getting remotely close to him, he was not a chance of actually taking him. He just pulled off and had to disconnect, so it was disappointing. I was hoping for a bit of a battle to the finish line there, but if from what I'm reading, apparently there was an emergency or something that he had to jump off, so it's disappointing with that. But all up, it was a good race. The guys behind me as well, and Jake Slade did a good job as well, so it was a good battle from start to finish. But for me, it was never really felt super pressured all the way through. It was just drive by the numbers and keep the car facing the right direction. So I'm pretty happy with the race in the end.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, I mean, you've set up the race quite nicely there. It's interesting to hear that you didn't feel much pressure despite them being so close behind. So how much time, you said 95%, how much time do you think you were leaving in the tank?
I'd say if I really pushed it, maybe half a second a lap.
Yeah, okay,
It was there. So yeah, I was just sort of making sure I was just keeping it close, and I was just sort of keeping it roughly the same distance behind me, and if they got a little bit close, then I just put foot down a little bit, pull a little bit of a gap again, and then just go back into sort of doing a little bit of fuel saving, not drastic fuel saving, but just easing in and out of the corners, that sort of thing. So yeah, I just wasn't trying to push the car at all. I just wanted to make sure that I kept it straight. And it was one of those tracks, if you just overstep it a little bit, you're off the track and it takes a long time to get back on. So I just wanted to, like I said, keep it within the bounds of the track and keep the car facing the right direction.
Yeah, and with that result, you've made it a Bailey Ladders Aussie Racers 2, 3, 4, 5 in the championship, with yourself in 3rd out of the Aussie Racers. So Gary Cousins in 2nd, Adam Lavis in 3rd, yourself in 4th, and then Dale Sharp in 5th. How much pride does that bring you to see your team lock out 4 of the top 5 spots?
Yeah, it's good to see. I mean, it'd be really good to have seen someone on the top step as well. But yeah, the whole goal for the evening was to get Adam and Gary on the podium for the championship. So that was the plan. But then when we saw John Merritt didn't turn up, we thought, well, that's made it a little bit easier. So we knew we just basically had to keep them on track, keep them straight, get as much points as they could, and they were looking pretty good. But I didn't know if I'd actually get enough to jump John Merritt. But yeah, good to see that. It's good to see Dale get up there as well. So yeah, it'd just be really nice if we could have taken the top stop as well. But Sam's just too strong, so he's done a good season, and yeah, he's earned the top spot, so congratulations to him. But it's always good to get guys on the from the team on the podium, so we'll come back and see if we can do it again next season.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed you're able to, and fingers crossed one of you guys can go with Sam Muir next season and turn it into a really tight championship battle. 76 points the gap in the end, so a bit of a demolishing. But Sam's been so strong for so many years in so many seasons in the GT4. It's not a surprise to see him take a championship. What do you think you need to do to find that extra bit of pace, extra bit of consistency to take that step and start fighting for the championship?
For me, it's just consistency. For sort of the first half of the season, I was just really struggling to have any form of consistency. I was just getting bad results. I was dealing with hardware issues with the computer as well, so that was making it hard. But yeah, the last couple of weeks after I've had the hardware upgrade, the car and everything has just been a lot smoother to run, and I've been getting really decent results, sort of luckily, yeah, getting into the top 10 and that sort of stuff, where prior to that I was having all sorts of issues. So it's, for me, it's just more consistency. I've never been a guy that's been outright paced. It's more a matter of over the season, do I earn the points rather than winning races? I mean, it'd be nice to win them, but the guys out there, they're too quick. There's guys there who are just above my skill level, so I just try to achieve the best I can in each week, and I hope over the season it culminates to a good position in the championship. But yeah, for a while there I was getting on the championship, but yeah, just with the introduction of some of these new guys over the last few seasons, it's just got harder and harder, which is good to see, and there's a lot of quality competition out there.
Yeah, it certainly is. Look, congratulations on your season. You've had a really strong season. Congratulations on your result tonight, and we'll see you next season.
No worries. Thanks, guys.
Okay, well, I think that brings us to an end of our interviews for the night. So let's say a big thank you to our sponsors, and then I will let you go and enjoy the rest of your evening. Our club sponsors for 2024 Season B have been Waste Options, Spray and Non-Alcoholic Cider, Orbic Australia, Lobesy Racing, M-Wave Australia, and Flash Graphics. It's been an absolute pleasure bringing you the racing from the last 10 weeks, both the Production Car Cup and the GT4s on these Wednesday nights. The Production Car and the GT4 will return for Wednesday nights next season in the same time slot. That will start in a few weeks' time on the 8th of July. I almost said June. On the 8th of July, that's the Monday of the week, so Production Cars will start on the 10th. We look forward to seeing you then out on track. Until then, take care and goodbye from me, myself, and the rest of us here at the GSRC.